own minds about him, and they find out that he's not the person that the media has depicted him to be.
Are you endorsing?
I support Donald Trump, and everybody knows that.
100%.
All right, Donald, we've got some questions for you.
Hi, Mr. Trump, you've done great things in your life, and I just wonder, how do I, as an average person, begin?
Well, first of all, never think of yourself as average. You started off with the wrong question because you're not average. You've got a lot going. I see you're smart. I see you're very beautiful.
I know Donald forever. I like Donald very much.
Wonderful guy. I mean,
he is.
And he's miscast by the media. You know that.
I like Donald. He's got an enormous ego, but he's a good guy. He's got a big heart, by the way. He's very good to people. He's very kind to people.
People don't know that.
You just have to get that word average out of your vocabulary, and you have to tell yourself that you're great, and you have to believe it. If you can say it and don't believe it, it doesn't matter.
A kid that worked in the back.
Right.
I said, well, hey, how is Donald Trump? This is before he ran. This is months ago. He goes, unbelievable. He would come back to the kitchen and give $100 to the staff.
Yeah.
He would give these guys quietly. Nobody would know about that.
The fact is, I go down the streets of New York, and the people that really like me are the taxi drivers and the workers, etc., etc.
Also, his children. I know his son, Eric. I've met him a couple of times. These are great kids.
They're great kids.
They're great kids.
Yeah.
You know, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree.
Do you like him?
Yeah, I mean, he's real. That's all we need.
I like his ideas. Those are real letters. Those are not corporate letters. Those are not letters from Exxon.
These are handwritten.
Those are not letters from General Motors. Those are letters from people. You have to have heart. You have to take care of women's health issues. You have to take care of poor people that they're never going to have a shot. And you have to take care of African-American youth who have never been in a worse position than they are right now.
This sounds like political presidential talk to me. And I know people have talked to you about whether or not you want to run. Would you ever?
I just probably wouldn't do it, Oprah. I probably wouldn't, but I do get tired of seeing what's happening with this country. And if it got so bad, I would never want to rule it out totally.
I think Donald Trump, underneath it all,
isn't
just a business
never going to
guy.
have a shot.
I think he loves America. I really do. I think he cares.
This country has such potential. I love the country. I think we can make it better than ever before. We have to unleash it. People have lost their spirit.
Donald Trump represents truth, logic, and common sense.
His incentive and his self-interest is tied to the well-being of the country that he's supposed to represent.
They love me, I love them. And I'll tell you something, if I get the nomination, I'll win the Latino vote. I will win it, because I'm going to create jobs.
I'm Hispanic and I vote for Mr. Trump. We vote for Mr. Trump! Get behind the candidate, Mr. Donald Trump, that's going to do something for you. That's going to give you a hand up instead of a handout, baby.
A lot of things that he said is true.
Wow.
The Mexican border.
You're Hispanic and you're saying that. Are you sure? Wow.
I know what Donald Trump is doing is representing the absolute heartbreak and anger and frustration at a government gone mad.
I guess I just wanted to find out if there was one thing that you wanted people to remember about Donald Trump. What is it?
Never, ever give up.
The power of positive thinking, and I think that's very much in Donald's makeup.
If I become president, I couldn't care less about my company. I want to use that same up here, whatever it may be, to make America rich again and to make America great again.
Ladies and gentlemen, I am officially running for President of the United States, and we are going to make our country great again.
Do not underestimate the power of Donald Trump, or you will be scratching your head wondering, how did he get the Republican nomination? And we will see the best debate in history. Hillary Rodham Clinton, Donald J. Trump.
We are here to stay. Donald Trump all the way.
Donald Trump has came up with some very strict immigration laws that would guarantee work in the African American community.
I hope he gets through with his intentions about building the wall.
Well, I just want to let everybody know that not all Latinos are blind.
He knows what money is, where it comes from, and how to make more of it, rather than redistributing other people's in exchange for their vote.
And the intensity with Trump
is like nothing I've seen since I was a little kid and Reagan was running. And they were saying this is America's last shot.
If we don't get it right this time, we're not going to have a country left, folks. We're not going to have a country.
Are we seriously trying to figure out whether or not Donald Trump would make a good president? The man has major skills that he can offer.
This country right now owes $19 trillion, and they need somebody like me to straighten out that mess.
Honestly, I really think voters and Americans are looking at this guy saying, it's refreshing to hear somebody not be a wuss, not be a politician, and really say what they think.
These aren't dumb people. These are American patriots, and they want this country turned around.
I don't want nuance. I want bold colors, red, white, and blue. America, I have seen in the last several decades, absolutely fray and decline. When I saw those guys on the boats, on their knees, I mean, that says a picture about America that I haven't seen ever before. Democrats, not one or two, but many, are voting for Donald Trump, as well as Republicans. I've seen this all over the place. So I think there's a big movement happening, and I got to say that, you know, we need him.
You know, this is a movement, folks. This is not like even maybe about me. I don't want it to be about me. This is about common sense. It's about doing the right thing.
The silent majority is back, and we're going to take the country back.
I have a big heart. I'm going to take care of people. I'm going to make sure that this country comes first. We don't come first. We don't come 10th. We take care of everyone else but our own, and that's going to change.
We're going to become rich again. We're going to become safe again. And we're going to become strong again.
Nothing is wrong with us. We don't have to like illegal aliens. We don't have to. We're Americans. We want Americans first. Why can't we be first?
We are ready for a change. We are ready, and our troops deserve the best.
And in the Middle East, I guess we've spent $5 trillion. We could have rebuilt our bridges, our tunnels, our roads, our hospitals, our airports. We could have rebuilt our country. We could have rebuilt our military. We could have taken care of Social Security. We could have taken care of everything.
We are going to win so much. We're going to have win after win after win. You people are going to get sick and tired of winning. You're going to say, please, please, President Trump, we can't take this much victory. Please stop. We don't want any more wins. And I'm going to say to you, we're going to win. I don't care what you say. We're going to make our country great again. We're going to win. We're going to win. And we're going to win. We are going to make America great again.
First of all, I've come to know Donald Trump over the last few years. He is actually a very intelligent man who cares deeply about America. There are two different Donald Trumps. There's the one you see on the stage, and there's the one who's very cerebral, sits there and considers things very carefully. You can have a very good conversation with him. And that's the Donald Trump that you're going to start seeing more and more of right now.
From the Smith Radio Studios, it's Carrie and Brian Smith. This is Smith Radio. You can tweet at Smith Radio, SMYTH Radio. And now, your host, Carrie and Brian Smith.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Smith Radio. Your host, Brian Smith and
Carrie Smith.
Giving you all the late breaking news of last week, wrapping it all up, explaining it to you, exposing the deep state and the fake news, letting you know what it's really all about, telling you the real...
Whoa, that'll wake you up.
The stories that happened this past week you didn't hear about. I swear you didn't, because we're going to tell you about them. It's going to blow your mind. It's going to blow your mind. And if you watch the very beginning of the show that we set up, it goes into Donald Trump and talks about what's going on, the economy, everything that's the possibility of everything. If we elected Trump, and now we get the Democrats screaming and yelling so that we don't know anything about what's really going on. But we got the real news for you right here, folks. And I'm going to give you some inside ball game.
Uh-oh.
Real quick. If this is the first time on the show, the first time you're catching the show, we absolutely welcome you. Welcome. We are Military Veteran Talk Radio. Back in the 90s, I was in the Air Force, and back in the 90s, my cousin Carrie was in the Marine Corps. We've been talking on and off for about 3 to 4 hours, almost every other night for about 10 to 12 years, and then we decided, you know what? We got to record this. We got to document the demise of America and what Obama is doing to destroy it, because nobody's going to believe how this thing went down. Well, all of a sudden, Donald Trump announces he's running for president of the United States.
We had to pivot.
Make a new move, and we think that we honestly believed right off the bat that this was going to be a huge knockout home run if he was elected president. Fast forward to today. This is our first year going live video. We are in our 5th year, so there's 4 years of audio in the past, all up on the YouTube channel. You can find us on the YouTubes, on Vimeo.com if you want to watch the show at your house on your TV, or SmithRadio.com. And I ask you folks, we are working with Brandon Strucka to help push the hashtag WalkAway movement over the edge and really, really help push this whole thing to a whole new level to get people out to vote in the 2018 midterms November 6th like it's never been done before. We have a GoFundMe page. Go to smithradio.com, and right there, right underneath this show on the website is a box that says GoFundMe, and it has our picture and a little ad that our awesome, not producer, director?
She's the moderator.
Mr.
Moderator.
Mr. Moderator had put together. We thank her very much. So go ahead and click that. They'll take you right to the GoFundMe page. Much appreciated. We are probably close to halfway through our goal. But we really need to get there to
it's
DC.
It's a modest goal.
Right. A very, very modest goal to get us to DC at the end of the month and safely back home. With that being said, the biggest news of the weekend. Mr. Brett Kavanaugh, this one's for you, my man.
Have a beer on me. Oh man, you got a good one there. You got a gusher. We'll get it.
We'll get that later.
We'll get it. Our electronics are nice and insulated, so we're good. We're good to go.
Yeah, they're insulated with all that coffee.
Yeah.
Hey, that's some more inside ball game stuff.
Oh gosh. Anyway, luckily, we have 12 channels because we're going to need all 12 of them.
All 12. Just keep moving to the next one.
Yes.
Anyways, with that being said, everybody's celebrating with a beer. And for those of you who listen to audio only, we are toasting with Samuel Adams Boston Lager. I believe it's the original Boston Lager. Great beer. Straight out of Boston. Patriot beer. Enjoy yourself.
Well, Boston's, you know.
Well, yeah, Boston's kind of one of the things. So with that being said, the show today, we are going to talk about all the great things that are happening in the American economy right now. Donald Trump's approval rating back up to 50%. That's where it needs to be, or higher during the midterms. Don't need any unforeseen issues. We also got a lot of exposing. We're not going to beat up the Kavanaugh thing. We're going to talk a little bit about the Kavanaugh, but we're not going to beat that up because that's not really the big news right now. The big news is what was the Kavanaugh hearing and the whole debacle. What was it covering for? The information on page 6 will blow your mind. So stay tuned for that. It's just unbelievable. There's more hate and anger and attacks on the left, to the right. The right is not attacking or violently lashing out against anybody. It's the left that has all the anger and the violence. There were some chemical attacks. Mad Dog Mattis, he said he got that ricin for whoever sent it to him. He got it, and he went ahead and he mixed it in, and he made himself some ricin marshmallow pieces.
Ricin marshmallow crispy treats.
Oh, gosh. He said he loved it. Tastes great. Don't mess with Mad Dog Mattis. You guys trying to scare him off. That ain't happening. But we're going to get into that. Also, Judicial Watch is in the news this week. Some explosive lawsuits that they're filing and what that means. There's also an interview this week with a guy named Jim Baker. Jim Baker was the former FBI top attorney, and you will love what he had to say under oath behind closed doors. And then again, we'll get to the Trump 2018, the people that are up, what the Kavanaugh thing did. Has it pushed the needle for the Republicans, and which needles are they pushing?
And I have a lot to say about those items.
Okay, cool. We got George Soros, obviously, in the news because he's been funding all the hate and anger in the background. GOP funding, we'll talk about that. The fundraising, talk about that. CNN fake news got trolled really bad this week by Ted Koppel, a real journalist.
Is he?
He destroyed little baby Brian Stelter. So that was pretty fun. That was pretty awesome. President Trump's accomplishments, what was once thought impossible, trade deals that happened this week that will blow your mind.
Yes. It'll be relevant to are we interviewing somebody today?
Yes. And lastly, Trump prophecies. We'll get into that in the last hour. That is a real deal, folks. But first off, at the bottom of this hour, here in just a few minutes, we have a very, very special guest, Quentin Kramer. # FundTheWall. We had him on a few weeks back where he started an organization to crowdfund and donate money to the government and the branch of government that's responsible for building the wall. Now you're like, Brian, why would we want to do that? Well, here's the thing, folks. Congress and all the politicians back during Ronald Reagan's era, back during the 80s, I think it was 86 when he did the amnesty thing and pencil whipped it. In that amnesty thing, it was to build a wall. Yes, if you're shocked, it's because they don't talk about it. But there was a bill in that bill that he signed for amnesty was also to build the wall. They pulled the money out, so the wall was never built. It was completely defunded, and that's why it's never been built. But the wall's supposed to be built. Well, as you'll see really quickly here, Quentin has found a loophole to where citizenry can actually force these different branches and departments, if we give them the money, to use the money that we deem what the money should be allocated for. They have to actually follow through with it. So here shortly at the bottom of the hour, we're to have him on. I'm just kind of on a hold pattern. I don't know if you have. Do you have anybody text and say, "Hey, what's up, man"?
Oh, I don't know. I should check, shouldn't I?
Yeah, you should.
Oh, did you give him a time?
Yeah, I sent the message out and I said 5:30 at the bottom of the hour.
Oh, okay.
So
he'll probably let me know 5:30 or close to it. So we'll have him on. It'll be a lot of fun because we had him on a couple weeks ago. And I thought we really hit every single angle. I was really hitting him with all kinds of questions because it seemed unbelievable to me. But since then, there have been a lot of people who have come out and said, had some additional questions. Some of them were asking the same questions that maybe I didn't get clear enough answers to. So we're going to clear up all that stuff. I'm going to really take him to task because I think that's necessary for everybody to feel comfortable donating to this thing. We really need $1 billion. I mean, that sounds ridiculous. It sounds like $1 billion. It seems ridiculous, but honestly, that's what it costs. And this stuff is being taken out of our income through taxes.
Yeah, they're going to get it one way or another.
Yeah, to the tune of trillions of dollars. So, one way or another, they're going to get it. I'll tell you what, we need a new mixer.
A new mixer?
Yeah. So, let's get funded here. If you also enjoy what we do and you enjoy getting real news, not fake news, and as Scott Adams says, you like to watch the movie on the one theater, not the other theater. But if we are watching both movies on the same theater, as he points out, that you want to make sure that our movie wins.
Yes.
You have to support. You have to support new media. You have to support the truth tellers, the ones that are not just going to toe a line because that's what Soros has paid us to do. But those people need to be funded, including Smith Radio. So you want to contribute to us by going to patreon.com/SmithRadio. And we appreciate all those who have done so far, and we appreciate anybody who is thinking about it to pull that lever and make this happen so we can expand and get the word out to more and more people, because people aren't getting it.
No,
they're just not enough anyway. I mean, we're going to have the red wave, and we're winning because people are getting enough people are getting the message, but we need, it could change. It could change.
I tell you what, I was talking with Gen Xer Thursday, Friday. Kavanaugh was brought up, obviously, because that's all that's on people with Trump derangement syndrome. That's all that's on their mind.
Well, they've decided to go all in on this wall-to-wall coverage.
Right. And I told Gen Xer, and I said, man, she's just accusing him of something that may or may not have happened, and in which case wasn't even some kind of rape. And he's like, doesn't matter. She said it. I said, hold on. I said, our government is set up to where you're innocent until
it's not just
guilty.
Right. Our government's set up that way, but it's set up that way because of a philosophy.
He told me, he looked at me, he said, that doesn't matter, Brian. Damn it doesn't matter. He's guilty. And he stormed off. So we have a misconception of a concept, and that's why we do this show.
Right. Social justice is a really diabolical thing. And also, it's just this catchphrase that doesn't really have a really solid definition. But there is a solid definition of social justice. So most people don't ever think about the literal definition of social justice. But here's how it works. Do you know how individual justice works?
Yeah, when I go and I get it. I go and get revenge.
No, well, I mean, if you break a law, you personally, Brian Smith, will be apprehended, or maybe let's just say accused.
And prosecuted.
You'll be prosecuted, you'll be arrested, prosecuted, and then you'll have a court date. And if you are convicted of it, or maybe even set free, that would be considered individual justice.
Right.
Social justice is when a group, a member, or maybe a group of people who can be categorized in a certain social group have committed some sort of a crime, or it could be construed as a crime, or it could just feel like an injustice. And because you are a part of that social group, well, the whole social group has to be punished. That is social justice. So in the case of white men who founded this country, who own slaves, we are now considered all slave owners.
Right, every one of us, even to this day.
And black people are considered all slaves who are victims of slavery, even if they were born 100 years after slavery was abolished. But they feel that justice has not been served, so we need to get justice by going after all white people today, even though we're like, what are you talking about? I'm against slavery. I'm an abolitionist. My ancestors were abolitionists. If you listen to Dinesh D'Souza, you find out that only a very, very small percentage of white men own slaves. And as a matter of fact, the same percentage of people of color, non-whites, also own slaves. Same percentage. So it wasn't even a racial thing. But I don't want to get off on the sidetrack. Here's why this matters. Here's why I'm bringing this up. Brett Kavanaugh may or may not have committed a crime or something similar to what he's being accused of. I have made the determination based on the facts that have been presented that he did not commit anything even remotely close to what he's being accused of. However, he is a white male who is a member of a group who also have members that have committed sexual misconduct to not just a woman, but women in general.
What?
Well, because if one woman has ever been raped or groped or touched without consent or something to that effect, then it's because she's a woman and it's because the perpetrator was a man, which means it's all men are guilty of doing sexual misconduct to all women. All right? You guys follow me so far?
Okay.
So when an accusation comes down to Brett Kavanaugh as a social justice warrior, it does not matter whether or not he is guilty of it or whether or not facts exist to prove that he may even have done it, or he could be totally innocent of it. It doesn't matter. The fact is that he is a member of the group who needs to be punished for being a member of a group who would commit such a crime against women. And now Blasey Ford, most people are saying that she is actually a victim and that she should get justice somehow or another. And by proxy, we're going to get justice by punishing the innocent man because she pointed the finger at him. But let's say she actually didn't have this thing happen to her. Maybe she never was a victim of sexual misconduct. That's possible still, right? Because she has no evidence of it. If it is the case that she is not even a victim, it doesn't matter because she serves as the social justice recipient. She's the recipient of justice for women at large, not just for herself. So this is what you guys experienced. You experienced an innocent man almost getting convicted in social justice court by a woman who couldn't even prove that anything happened to her, that she was a victim of anybody. So that's what we had. So that was my rant here while we waited to bring up the wall. So you want to introduce our returning guest for our show today?
Yes, our returning guest, Quentin Kramer, headed up the organization that is crowdsourcing or crowdfunding the wall. He found, I guess, what to us would seem to be kind of a loophole to be able to crowdsource and fund and I guess force the federal government or the department that is doing this, force them to use the money as we see fit or allocate the money as we demand, I guess, if you will. So welcome, Quentin, to the show, Smith Radio. Welcome back.
Thank you for having me again.
Absolutely. So I guess the biggest question that we got real quick, go ahead and set it all up of your organization, what you do and what you're doing, and where people can get a hold of more information from you.
Sure. So when last we spoke, the organization itself is American Border Foundation, and we're available on FundTheWall.com. And so, as you may recall, when last we spoke, we were discussing a situation where we could crowdfund the wall, and we had been working with DHS to try to get them to accept the money with our conditions, which was that they could only use it to build the wall with, right? And so what we found out in the meantime is that in conjunction with some sheriffs, we've gotten them to accept our terms, and they're willing to accept the money and use it with our conditions. So now we're basically off to the races. Okay, so this is actually better news now to those they're a little nervous or they're on the fence. Well, how can they do? So you're saying it's actually in stone. There are conditions, and they're willing to meet those conditions. Yep. We've had multiple conversations with them, and they are on board now. So we're scheduling the first delivery with them probably for the last week in October. Excellent. Now, just real quick, some updates, and you contacted me this week because there are some new developments, and obviously the one where the sheriffs are involved as well, but some new developments and some, I think they're kind of big developments. It seems like it's starting to move in the right direction. So what's going on now? Well, I mean, we've had people come out of the woodwork in the sense that there's people all over the country that are willing to support the project. So I think that as we've been able to get past these things and the fact that we've been very transparent with people in public around what is the current status of the project, and as we've gone through these different negotiations with the IRS and with DHS, that we've had a lot of people that were willing to donate initially. So we've already received over $100,000 in donations. Wow.
Awesome. So that's quite a bit of an increase from the last time we talked, isn't it? You had probably, several thousand that was going on, and now we're up to 100,000. And you have a goal set at what was the goal here?
450 million.
450 million, which may sound like a lot, but it is a border wall that's going to stretch at least 1,000 miles, right? Do we know the specifications?
Well, so this particular project that we're talking about with this budget is for a project that's in Arizona on the Berry Goldwater Range. And so there's a specific project identified for that 450 million. That would be a 63-mile stretch of that range in Arizona on the Arizona-Mexico border. So from that standpoint, we know exactly what it will cost, who can build it. The Army Corps of Engineers will do the work. So we'll be able to fund that specific project and see the resources going directly towards a specific construction project.
Now, you said the Army Corps of Engineers is it cheaper going that way? Is it? I mean, I would think it would be less expensive than hiring just an independent contractor.
That appears to be the case.
Really?
We haven't seen a comparison budget in the sense that we don't know that DHS ever sent that project out for bids to see what a competitive bid would look like from a private contractor. But in other cases, there are certainly places where we've seen private contractors do work. And in particular, the prototypes that we saw in the end of last year were all done by private contractors, not the Army Corps of Engineers.
It almost seems unimaginable in my experience that a government project could be done for less than a private company could do it for. Outside of anything, really, to be honest with you.
Yeah, we were both. Kerry was in the Marine Corps. I was in the Air Force, and I was in the machine shop, the aircraft hangar, and all our toolboxes, dozens and dozens of giant, brand new chest, snap-on toolboxes, thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars for the best toolboxes Snap-on ever made. Drill bits and inserts and tens of thousands. I mean, it was just everywhere.
Most of our pieces, our replacement parts, had prices on them. There was a little label on them with a price, and we had these nickel bolts that would install on this butterfly valve that's on the combustion chamber that operates the flight control system. And they were probably about 3 inches long and 5/8 inch diameter. And there was nothing super special about them except that they were made out of nickel, like pure nickel.
Oh, wow.
And they were $162 or something like that. And it was one for one. So,
right.
so I'm a little concerned about that. And I feel like it could be done cheaper with private contractors, but maybe not. So there's a lot of concern here with people. They're worried that, first of all, the way the government works, they're going to vote on all this crazy stuff. And so suddenly Donald Trump has a very narrow he has a very narrow scope on what kind of design to choose for the wall. Is this something where we could basically tell them this is the design we want?
Not yet. I mean, we may get to that point, but I wouldn't push our luck, to be honest with you. We've gotten the DHS to accept our conditions to this point. I would rather see them take the money, make sure that they're spending it on a project. To your point, we can cover the expenses of it and making sure that they're spending it well as they do it. So our organization feels like we have a responsibility to the people who have contributed money, that we are to make sure that DHS spends it well. So we'll be keeping track, surely, of how they do spend it. Over time, I think we'll potentially see those prototypes evolve. So I think many people are disappointed in the fact that they see the similar style walls going up to what we've already had, a bollard style fence or what have you. And so it's not the wall from the prototypes, but it's enough to secure that particular area of the border. So from our standpoint, that works.
Okay.
Right. And I know Trump wanted a wall that was transparent, that you could kind of see through. And I did. I liked the walls, the prototypes that were put up, but apparently they didn't hold up to certain standards and expectations, so they're going back to the drawing board, which just seems kind of frustrating.
Mr. President, if you're listening, I already have. I mean, it's expensive. It's probably the most expensive wall you can build. But if you need to be able to see the other side of it, you need to make it thick enough to where you have a road on top of it, similar to what you see with the Great Wall of China, where, you know, it's this giant walkway on top. In our case, it would be at least one lane, maybe 2 lanes. And you know, it's a thick wall. It'd be extremely expensive, but tactically, you know, you'd have to climb up on that thing. and you would have Border Patrol barreling down the top of the wall with a vehicle to catch people. I think it would be the best way, but that would be very expensive. So, but it solves the problem of we need to be able to see the other side. We need to be able to see people coming. To make it transparent causes all kinds of problems. The bars that I see some of them have end up being a great way to climb up the damn thing.
Yeah.
So
I was surprised to learn that. I mean, we saw spotter huts on the opposite side of the border when we went down there, and they're clearly there to be able to tell when CBP agents are in the area so that when the CBP agents clear, then the people go across, right? From our standpoint, we figured that the solid walls that we saw 7/8 of the prototypes to be would be more effective, and CBP would prefer those. But in fact, they actually prefer the ones they can see through. And so I think that's part of the reason why most of
it's just a lack of imagination. You know, you have to think outside the box. I mean, make a wall where if you want to go really cheap, you could do like the ramparts of the old castles where it's one wall, but at the top they have like a ledge where you can walk across the top of the wall and all that. So you could see the other side from a ledge at the top, and you could have it so that Border Patrol could walk down it or something like that. Or maybe you could have something where at the top of the wall there's like a monorail or something if you have to traverse the wall very quickly. See, I missed my calling. I should have been an engineer. So,
well, we've heard all sorts of things. I mean, we've had a call last week about a pipeline being in there and all kinds of different ideas. So there's certainly no shortage of people with concepts and ideas of how to bring that forward. But I think that the practicality of it all leaves us with what we have today to a certain extent.
So, Quentin, you, as we talked just the other day, you have a goal and you're delivering the first check this month, and you're thinking that there's possibility you may be able to hit a new goal by the time that you deliver that?
Well, absolutely. So from this point, we're going to have that on the calendar very soon, in the sense that we know we're shooting for the last week in October. We're trying to get some sheriffs to come down. We're trying to get some angel families to come in, and of course the DHS. So we're in the process of trying to bring everybody's calendar together, which, as you can imagine, is never simple. But from this point forward, we'll be able to talk about that delivery event, and hopefully some people that have been concerned about whether this process was real, whether we're telling the truth, will be able to see that come to fruition, and that'll make them comfortable that everybody who's involved with this is doing the things that we've said we've been doing.
Right.
And so from that standpoint, there's the opportunity to publicize the event as it occurs, and then afterwards, obviously, to show people that.
What percentage of the money that gets donated goes straight to DHS? Do you guys take overhead, or how does that work?
So far, everybody's a volunteer, and we've paid all the expenses out of our own pocket. There will probably come a time where we have a couple of people that are employees, and we'll have an organization here. To the extent that this is a nonprofit, this is our only revenue source, so it's not like we have other funds that are up right now. But again, we've tried to cover all the expenses as best we could out of our own pocket. So that will hopefully be the case moving forward, but we'll see. So the line that we've been giving is that we'll potentially use up to 5% of the money for administrative and potentially up to 5% for advertising. That would still be an A on Charity Navigator, but our intent is that if we get to that $450 million goal, then we're not going to need anything like $4.5 million worth of admin, and we shouldn't need anything like 4.5%. Or $2.5 million or $2.25 million to get to advertising.
So percentage-wise, percentage-wise, you're talking extremely low, because as you get bigger and bigger and bigger, even though you may hire people to do it, you're talking about an extremely tiny percentage of what you're earning. Before we get too far down, I wanted to get this. You may have covered some of this, but Rachel Nickerson on Twitter, she is at rnickerson443. at Twitter, and she said, I would donate for the wall, but unsure the money would go to the wall fund, just like PP charges, that's Planned Parenthood, just like Planned Parenthood charges patients receiving donations, receive government funding, and donate a lot of money to Democrat Party. As an ex-Dem, I say no to my tax money going to them. So she doesn't want her tax money to go to Planned Parenthood, but they do, and also, tax money is supposed to go towards funding the wall, which is why Congresses keep on denying us. So if you would like to address what she's saying, she sees what's happening with there's these entities out there who are doing things that the government is funding, but also take a lot of donations, and it ends up being a big scam, right? Even Planned Parenthood is lying about what the money's being used for. It's for women's health and stuff like that, when really it's an abortion mill or whatnot. So, so in your case, does any of this money go to fund the Republican Party or anything like that? What would you say to her?
So there's a couple different things. As a nonprofit 501c3, we are specifically barred from quote unquote participating in campaign activities. That means I can't endorse a candidate. I can't even say things like don't vote for conservatives or liberals or any of those sorts of things. So from that standpoint, we are fully bipartisan or nonpartisan, whichever way you want to look at it. In many cases, what you find is that these organizations put up a 501c4 next to a C3.
Right.
So they take donations on one side and they sort of commingle a little bit and they play games. And then you'll see like Planned Parenthood Action is the one who's actually doing a thing. And so that becomes the political arm of it. But it's not a C3, it's a C4. And so they can do different things with the money. In this case, we are specifically barred from that campaign activity. So you can trust that this is actually a charitable organization.
So it would be illegal almost pretty much for you to do what she's worried about, which is that the money isn't going to directly to the wall. So that's good.
Well, and then you have to also file with the IRS at the end of the year where the money's gone, what's happened with everything, and that could be a big debacle.
Well, I mean, basically, we would owe taxes as though we're income, right? It would be corporate income on all this money that we've already had, and we'd have to pay tax on it, which would be a train wreck.
So what's the website?
The website is fundthewall.com. If you're watching us live on video on Sunday night, 5 to 8 p.m. Eastern, I got it down right at the bottom of the screen, Quentin Kramer's name there, and then fundthewall.com. If you're on Twitter, I don't know, just get at the top of my Twitter account. I just retweeted him out. It's ____ JUSTYC. ____.
Well, and also
FundTheWall.
Yeah, FundTheWall.
Our program manager, and at FundTheWall is our handle for the official account.
Okay.
Right, and I'm on it right now. Make sure that you guys get this straight in your head. The website is fundthewall.com, but the Twitter account is FundThatWall at FundThatWall. So I find it easy, since I'm so much of a Twitter user, to go to your actual Twitter handle, which is at FundThatWall, and then click on the link for the website, which takes you directly to it. And then from there, you'll see the donate button, and know that pretty much all of it is going to go to DHS with the idea that, now, how do we know exactly that DHS is not going to abuse the hell out of this money and waste it and all that?
Well, it's interesting. The sheriffs have said we should only give them half of it and let them spend it properly. And then once we see that they're doing well with it, we'll give them the other half. I'm not necessarily on that train of thought, but I mean, again, this organization has a responsibility to make sure that they're spending it well. From our standpoint, the Border Foundation, the American Border Foundation, is taking on securing the border at large, with whether it's DHS, whether it's the sheriffs, whether it's other civilian organizations that are there at the border trying to help get it secured. But this is our first project to work directly with DHS because the wall is the most obvious thing, right? So there will be more that we do beyond this. We just wanted to get this fund up and running first before we start to branch out into other things.
Excellent. And also, if you're watching or listening to the show recorded, just go down to the show notes. Down there in the show notes, I put the link for the website in there and information as well. So you can check that out. Quentin, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for calling us and contacting us this week and giving us a heads up and an update of what's going on. Soon to hopefully hit the 250,000 mark and then beyond, hit the $1 million mark and really get off to the races. And like I was talking with Carrie yesterday about this, is that it's just that if people knew about it, they would do it. Just not enough people know about it because people would. The folks, when we're talking about 50 million, 100 million, 200 million, it's $5 a person, $2 a person. If you only got $1, send $1. It's just whatever it takes, you know. And the collective, all of us together in America, you know, I know there's 320 million people in America, but you know, all of us in America. I mean, the 65 million that voted for Trump. Could you imagine? I mean, if that was $2 a person, I mean, you're talking $130 million.
You got it.
Yeah. So it's not that hard, folks.
It's our civic duty.
Yeah, absolutely. So awesome. Well, thank you so much for being on the show. We will continue to promote you. We'll continue to put that in our tweets and our hashtags and send it back out on Twitter.
Right.
Do everything that we possibly can to help you get the word out.
Well, we really appreciate it. And obviously, America appreciates trying to get our border secured. So thank you very much for that. And we'll keep you posted as we come up to this delivery event.
All right. Thank you so much, Quentin.
Have a great night, guys.
You too. Awesome. All right. Well, you guys got to get that wall funded. It's interesting. We have the deal with Mexico, the what is it, the USMCA?
Yes.
It's been rumored that part of that USMCA includes Mexico paying for the wall.
Yes.
But who knows how long that's going to take and what they're going to do with that money. Do you really trust the government? It seems like with people like Quentin on the case, you make sure that your money goes directly to what you want it to go to. And it kind of gets back to the way we used to do things in America. A lot of people would be shocked to find that, when World War II broke out, we had war bonds.
Yeah. I don't – when was it that they started to implement income tax? I don't think there was an income tax all up until World War I.
The IRS is a relatively new situation. And it was very controversial when it first dropped.
And it still is because it's being weaponized.
Yeah, now that it's being weaponized, I think that people need to take a long, hard look at this stuff. And a bunch of other government agencies too. So anyway, definitely do that. Get out there, FundTheWall.com. I'm actually looking at it right now. And you can see the big old green donate button. And there's a nice little explanation of some videos.
And think about this too, folks. If this gets to the point to where we're talking, I mean, obviously, we just had him on just a few weeks ago, and now he's at $100,000.
Yeah, this could go exponential.
And the amount of money, when the numbers get big, and all of a sudden the donations start going in, there are going to be people, we know people that would tell Trump about this. We literally know at least 2 or 3 people.
Right.
We could pick up the phone and tell Trump about this. After they deliver the first check, the first check being delivered, I absolutely will do everything that we can at Smith Radio to let the folks know that we know, to let Trump know this is what the citizens are doing because we feel so passionate about this.
Right.
And if he started to could you imagine if he started to retweet Fund That Wall?
That'd be interesting to see what would happen. Like, obviously, there would be a big spike. People would start to become more aware of it. They would probably start talking on it in mainstream media. Right. Certainly, when Trump tweets something, even the haters and fake news talk about what he tweeted.
Absolutely.
CNN would talk about it. They'd be like, what is this Fund That Wall or FundTheWall.com? And next thing you know, people would that never knew about it would start to be like, hey, what's this about? And they'll look into it, and then they'll see that Smith Radio interviewed him because there's these questions.
Right.
These questions are like, whoa, what are these guys doing? It's like that woman that raised $400,000 for the homeless vet and then decided, wow, that Bentley looks pretty nice.
Did she get in trouble?
She was ordered, and she's in big trouble because she was ordered to pay every dime of it to him, but she had already made some very big expensive purchases. So these are things like I think there was a luxury car that she bought, and let me tell you something, you cannot take a car back to the dealership.
Well, you could, but you ain't going to get no money back for it. They don't want it back.
If you try to sell it for top dollar, you're still going to lose. For her, for that kind of a car, probably $10,000.
Sure, you drive that off the lot. Nobody wants
this
that.
Is going to end up being a financially devastating for her. So
with that being said, like we were talking about earlier, you have to report these things to the IRS, 501c3, absolutely nonprofit organization, absolutely cannot be involved in politics or political action or colluding with political action committees at all, either party whatsoever. Yeah, unless you're the Clintons, then you can do whatever the hell you want.
It's a good thing I didn't go too far down the road with that Planned Parenthood rant because he can't comment on that.
No. I mean, he did laugh, and we can infer what he meant.
Whoa. If he's laughing, that could be construed. No, I'm just kidding.
No.
Just kidding.
Speaking about people being in trouble, now, obviously, folks, if you live on planet Earth, and you live in America, or you have any tentacles in the interwebs,
okay,
you know that we were all glued to the TV yesterday at 3:30, and Kerry was busy, so I texted him now.
Yeah.
With that being said, 50-48, Judge Kavanaugh confirmed the one Senator Murkowski out of Alaska that Sarah Palin said, I can see 2022 from my house.
That was pretty clever.
Kind of clever. She voted present, but I believe she said my vote would have been a no vote, and the other senator that is out at his daughter's wedding would be a yes vote.
Yeah,
so we would
Senator Daines or something like that.
Yeah, so we would cancel each other out. So I'm just going to abstain. I mean, I'm going to sit back and do nothing.
Well, if she voted no, it would have been 50-49. But the reason she wanted to – well, I shouldn't say the reason. The reason she said, which I don't –
we infer. This is where you get the real news.
She actually said that she wanted to keep the vote margin, which was 2. So it was 51-49 by Daines being gone, Senator Daines being gone for his daughter's wedding and not voting. Her vote would then make it one point margin, which would be 50-49. And so Murkowski decided, well, if I vote present, that'll keep the two.
My constituents happy.
No.
Oh.
She didn't say that. She said it will keep the 2-point margin. It means nothing.
No.
50-49, 50-48, it doesn't matter. It means nothing. She was making that excuse so that when she runs for election, she can say, I didn't vote no.
I didn't vote no.
Not me. But you know what? Her voting no on cloture, which was the vote that needed to pass in order to do a vote, which, let me tell you something. How's Senate work? This doesn't make it's so
well, they all got to vote to stop talking about it.
Right.
That's what they did. Okay, y'all. I'm tired. It's been 2 weeks. I want to stop talking about this. Let's move for cloture.
Hold on, Brian. Hold on. You can't just say that we want to stop talking about it. We need to tell you that we're ready to stop talking about it. So we're going to take a vote on whether or not we're going to stop talking about it.
Okay, because I want you to stop talking about it. So let's take
I wasn't
going to
stop. I wasn't going to stop until we had a majority of people tell me to shut the hell up.
Okay, well we got a lot of people getting mad telling us to say shut up.
Right. Well, let's see how many people want me to shut the hell up.
I need at least 51% of all of America, 321 million. I need at least 110 million people.
Why can't
160 million people?
Why can't we just have Senate to do a vote to tell me to shut up?
No, we got to get cloture. We got to get cloture. Man.
So we need to organize an election to get people to shut up. Oh my gosh! Get the precincts open. Get the volunteers in there. Get the ballots.
Get the money flowing.
Yes or no? Do you want Senate to shut up?
That's the only vote on the ballot.
Oh my goodness!
And now that they will shut up, we'll now move forward. Well, folks, think about this. This is a phenomenal win for America, not for Trump, not for just us. It is a win for America
because we got the Senate to shut up.
Right, we got the Senate to shut up. But something else on a side note that I know, I'm just saying stuff that you guys you already know, but it's. But it really shoves it in the Democrats' face. It really just jams it down their throat. Just jams it down their throat.
Apparently it shut them up. Did you hear what happened on Deface the Nation? I was shocked. On Deface the Nation, you have John Dickerson, who, by the way, has me blocked. He blocked me.
Congratulations. Good for you.
I worked very hard for that. And not everybody can get blocked by John Dickerson. So, I'm very honored and humbled by the opportunity to get blocked by John Dickerson. But anyway, he had an interview with Senator McConnell. And
Mitchie.
Cocaine Mitch.
What? Wow.
You haven't heard that one?
No. Where did that come from?
I can't remember who called him Cocaine Mitch, but now everybody who's on the right calls him Cocaine Mitch.
God.
So Cocaine Mitch now. I thought you knew that. I thought you knew he was called Cocaine Mitch. So Brian's looking it up. The Kooky Tale of Cocaine Mitch. Oh, it's Washington Post. I don't know why he's being called Cocaine Mitch, but it's hilarious. So we're all calling him Cocaine Mitch. But anyway, so he was on Deface the Nation. And as soon as the interview was done, John Dickerson said, we reached out to 20 Democrat senators to get them to come on and do an interview with Face the Nation. We're talking about a liberal propaganda outlet
that would prop them up, that would do whatever they needed.
It's a puff piece. You show up to do an interview at Face the Nation. 20 different Democrat senators All 20 of them said no or didn't return their call, did not want to come on Face the Nation. So apparently they've made the conscious decision to go into hiding. So did you get a reason why they call him Cocaine Mitch? I'll have to ask Jack real quick. Why do they call him Cocaine Mitch?
One of my goals as U.S. Senator would be to ditch Cocaine Mitch, U.S. Senate primary candidate Don Blankship, Republican West Virginia, in an ad attacking Senator Majority Leader Mitch McConnell, Republican in Kentucky. Quote, having cocaine on the family-owned ship certainly should be of interest because cocaine deaths in this country keep going up, and even though that ship, I think, headed to Europe, we still need to be aware that there are cocaine and other drugs moving on the high seas on commercial ships. And if nothing else, it should be make us aware that we need to be careful when these commercial ships are docking, when your country needs to see what's on them. And certainly the family of Ellen Chow and that's his wife, Mitch McConnell's wife, and McConnell should be no exception to that rule. So he's making an accusation of Mitch McConnell and his wife and family ties and bringing cocaine into the country. Cocaine Mitch.
Okay.
I actually like that. I mean, I would embrace that. I got that kind of energy.
Well, all of the Trump supporters I know are loving calling him Cocaine Mitch. They feel that he should accept that title with a badge of honor.
Speaking about that, the Wall Street, is there a Wall Street Post? A Wall Street?
A Washington Post? I have no idea where you're going.
One of the Wall Street magazine, one of the Wall Street, did an article, and the title of it says, "We're all deplorables now." All of us. We're all deplorables.
Yeah, I remember that article, but yeah, who knows?
After Kavanaugh. After the whole thing with Kavanaugh. It's all the name calling. It's
all
after Kavanaugh. After Kavanaugh, we're all deplorables now.
Okay.
Yeah, and so if you follow me on Twitter, I was in a group, and somebody posted this picture in the group, and nobody had tweeted it, and I said, well, I guess I got to tweet it. I thought I might get in trouble, a little bit in trouble. Did get some reaction. It got some traction, and I got some bad reaction. Showed it to my wife. She freaked out. She got ill. But it's a picture of. Have you ever seen a picture of Joe Biden? The reason why I bring this up, Joe Biden thinking about running for president. Joe Biden bending over, smelling a woman's hair, a young girl's hair. Well, somebody superimposed that onto Miss Ford, sitting down at her seat, and he said, I hear you can keep a secret for 30 years. Wah, wah, wah. Anyways, my whole point being, you've got this entire party in absolute shambles. There's no way any of these people can run. Even Donald Trump was taunting a handful of them, whether it be Biden, Booker, Warren, whoever it be. Trump at his rallies here recently was taunting all of them, saying, run, run, run. I dare you. Please run. And I think one of the most fun, one of the candidates will be most fun would be Avenatti. Do you realize the people in Avenatti's circle, I swear to you.
He's an idiot.
Yes. The people in his circle are propping him up to make him feel, it's like at home, you're singing in the shower, and you've got one of those moms that, that just loves you no matter how awful you are.
That's most mothers, right?
Well, not my mom. She'll tell you the truth.
Oh, yeah. Well, your mom's a rare exception.
Well, I would tell, if my daughter said that I want to go on America's Got Talent and I want to sing this song, I would tell her, you need to practice. Don't do it.
You wouldn't tell her. You would say you need to practice.
You need to practice. Okay. Yeah, okay. You need to practice. Well, it's like those kids that show up that didn't practice. And it's the ones that are so bad and shrieking. You're like, no.
Yeah.
No, and then the one guy who actually cut a record.
William Hung.
William Hung cut a record of all the most awful greatest hits.
Oh, well, he was so bad that everybody loved him.
Yeah. So that's what we got now. We got Avenatti. People are telling him to run. He really is making a conscious
He will
effort.
be the William Hung of politics.
And I'm good with that. We'll trash them all.
Well, here's the problem. The Democrat Party is blaming Avenatti for ruining the Kavanaugh thing because they said, hey, we had something realistic. We had something that people could believe in. And here comes a guy that's throwing gang rape in the in the mix, and people are like, gang rapes? Train rapes? I mean, Sean Hannity's calling it train rapes, and then he has to define it, and And by the way, Sean Hannity comes on right as you're picking up your kids from elementary school.
Oh, this was his radio show.
Oh yeah, he was explaining what cocaine or not.
Cocaine Mitch is doing.
By the way, I just looked it up, or actually somebody told me, one of my friends on Twitter said it was from a campaign ad. So apparently Don Blankenship came out with an ad trying to bash Mitch McConnell by calling him Cocaine Mitch. And you know how we do it. You know how we do it in the Trump train. You call us deplorables, and we just say, oh, yeah. Yes, we are. We are very deplorable. And we take it and we run with it and we take it from you. And so when they called him Cocaine Mitch, initially nobody came to his defense because deplorables, Trump supporters, we didn't like Mitch McConnell.
No, and
he was a cuck.
I will say this too, though, that Blankenship, what's his name?
Blankenship. Don Blankenship.
He actually, I think he had an R next to his name. He's a Republican in West Virginia. But here's the thing, folks, and I got into this, well, not got into it, but I was talking with one of our Patreons.
It was a primary attack. It was a primary attack line.
One of our long-term friends, Sam, who I've been going back and forth with. Sam, I'm just getting a heads up, buddy. I do not endorse Mitch McConnell. I do not endorse Lindsey Grahamnesty.
I'm not 100% sure about Mitch McConnell, but I listened with my own ears to Senator Lindsey Graham say in response to Donald Trump going out, which, by the way, if you didn't know about it, as soon as this whole thing started cooling off with the accusations against Kavanaugh, the next rally, Trump goes out there and mocks her. I'm using air quotes if you're listening on the radio, because I know that there's a lot of Trump supporters who are totally denying that he didn't mock her. He didn't mock her. Ew, that makes me cringe that you would deny it. Mocking is when you speak as the person in a way that makes fun of them, and it's not that he was making fun of her. He was pointing out the things that she said. But when you say I blah blah blah, like he was speaking as if he was playing her, and it got uproarious cheers from the crowd. So it is technically mocking. So I didn't like the defense that it's not mocking, it's just facts. Do I endorse what he did and how he did it? Absolutely. And I think that more Republicans should do that. But guess what? Lindsey Graham came out, was asked what he thought about Donald Trump apparently or appearing to mock her. And Lindsey Graham said, I heard it with my own ears, well, I really, really wish he didn't do that, and it's not helpful. Well, you know what? That's your typical Lindsey Graham right there. So don't think that we're just willy-nilly saying, oh my gosh, he's totally right-wing.
No, and Lindsey Graham was pushed in one of the interviews this past week. And the guy questioning him, one of the fake news media questioned him, said something about, there's a reason why they call you Lindsey Grahamnesty.
Yeah, don't think that's going away.
Don't think that's going away.
Do not think for one second that when it comes up to making a vote on the wall or wall funding or building some sort of a giant border or any kind of a nationalist or nationalism type of America First policy, don't think for one second Lindsey Graham's going to be like, hey, my buddy McCain's dead. I'm all in. I'm no longer Grammy. No. Dude, he's called Lindsey Grahamnesty for a reason. Oh, if a vote comes up for amnesty, Graham's going to go out there and give a speech on why it should be voted yay.
All in. So you want to hear the audio clip of the Trump?
Mocking, whatever. We'll see.
Okay, so this is Trump at a rally. Folks, by the way, the rallies that Trump's been holding, a couple a week, 2, 3, 4 a week.
Yeah.
They're saying the longest lines ever.
Oh yeah, it's going to be worse. And by the way,
they said it's worse than the campaign. It's much, much more than the campaign.
He's coming to Lebanon Friday.
Woohoo! That's
which is about 40, 45 minutes away from us. Drive about that. So yeah. Oh, we have no audio. We have nothing.
There we go.
36 years ago, this happened. I had one beer. Right? I had one beer. Well, do you think it was? Nope, it was one beer. Oh, good. How did you get home? I don't remember. How'd you get there? I don't remember. Where is the place? I don't remember. How many years ago was it? I don't know. I don't know. What neighborhood was it in? I don't know. Where's the house? I don't know. Upstairs, downstairs, where was it? I don't know. But I had one beer. That's the only thing I remember. And a man's life is in tatters. A man's life is shattered. His wife is shattered. His daughters, who are beautiful, incredible young kids. They destroy people. They want to destroy people. These are really evil people.
So okay,
he got flack for really evil people too.
Right. Well, I mean, they are.
That's okay. No, I'm just saying he got flack for that. But
yeah.
But in my opinion,
okay, let me revise. I've actually heard that probably about 5 times, and now I'm listening to it very, very carefully because we're talking about mocking and whatnot. He actually asked the question as if he was the person asking and answered as if he was her. So he was going back and forth as if he was reading from a script. Also, he didn't, when he talked in her voice by saying, I don't know, he didn't say it in a way that was insulting, like, altering his voice to make her sound dumb. He was just stating it as this is what she said.
Yeah, this was her testimony.
Right.
He was just repeating.
So it wasn't mocking.
Q&A.
Mocking probably is the wrong word for it, but I took it as mocking because whenever you're speaking in the first person, somebody else's words, and you're doing it to play up to the crowd, to persuade somebody against that person, which clearly, I mean, how you argue against that's what he was doing, that should be construed as mocking. And by the way, there's nothing about what Trump did that I'm against in any way, shape, or form. I think that what he did was absolutely perfect, and so did everybody else in the crowd, which is why I don't think I've ever heard a cheer like that. I mean, they went nuts. I mean, it's one thing to go, yay, I agree. They blew up. They were just like, ah! It was like their team hit a home run or something, or they caught the game-winning touchdown or something like that. So they loved it. And it wasn't because he was making fun of her, but that her own words ring so false, or her own words discredit the entire accusation. And as Rush Limbaugh pointed out the next day in his show, and I would have never known this because I'm paying close attention, most mainstream people who just go to work every day, they come home, they kiss their dog, and they beat their wife, or whatever, or vice versa. They're not really paying that close. They don't know this stuff.
Right.
They don't even know. And then why? Because they're being lied to by omission by the mainstream media. The fake stream, the fake news, propaganda, Democrat arm of the propaganda wing of the Democrat Party, they lie by omitting that totally. They don't want to tell you what her own words were, that she doesn't know any of this stuff. And when Trump comes out, says it to uproarious cheers, they have to cover it. And by the way, Rush, I would have not known this except barring Rush saying it. That was one of the few rallies that was not even covered by Fox News. But when he said that, it forced them all to say, oh, he did what? And they got that kind of cheers. And finally, people covered that particular portion of it. But you had to watch the stream to even know that it happened. So it was typical, Trump getting into the media however he can. And this is the brilliant thing about Trump is if he feels that he needs something to be said over and over by everybody in the media, he'll say something a little bit controversial to get it covered.
Oh, yeah.
And that's
absolutely.
exactly what he did. And he did it perfectly because it wasn't controversial enough to undermine the entire thing, like Mitch McConnell apparently – or I'm sorry, I'm not sure if Mitch McConnell said it or not, but definitely Lindsey Graham said it's not helpful. I really wish he didn't say that. You know, sometimes I just wish he would shut up. Why did he have to say that? And there, by the way, a lot of people that we consider conservative never-Trumpers were coming out, oh my gosh, why did he have to say that? We were in a good spot. We were in a good spot. Actually, it was perfect. It was masterful. It was perfect. So anyway, I thought you told our listeners that we were not going to be talking that much about Kavanaugh, but
we're not. We're talking about the good stuff that happened around
this.
it.
This needs to be said because this is stuff that's not being covered by a lot of other new media.
So who paid for the lawyers? Who paid for the stuff? Who did what to who and how?
Have you seen the meme of Christine Blasey Ford being thrown out of the SUV?
No. Oh, man.
So there's an SUV driving down the road, and whoever took this picture was in the car behind taking a picture of this car driving down the road. There's a little girl that had fallen out of the passenger side door. Just fell right out, and she was hitting the pavement, and you could see her hair like all up like she was in the process of falling out of this car. And across the back of the window of the SUV, it says, "The Democrats."
Oh, no.
And then across the little girl that fell out is Christine Blasey Ford. And the meme says, now that Kavanaugh is I'm not reading it, so I'm trying to remember it off the top of my head. But now that Kavanaugh has been confirmed, this is what's going to happen to Christine Blasey Ford, which, by the way, we knew this. We've already told you this weeks ago.
Yes.
We've seen it happen, like with the Roy Moore case. He had all these accusers, and they had much more credible accusations because, and I'll tell you why they were more credible, because when Roy Moore got interviewed by Sean Hannity, he kind of admit relationships with some of these people, and he kind of admit that he was doing some of the things that he was being accused of. Not maybe exactly, but enough to where you're just like, holy crap, who is this guy? And apparently he was, in fact, barred from the local mall. And it's like, how does this happen?
Yeah, Mitch McConnell brought that up.
Yeah,
he's like, this isn't no Roy Moore.
Right. So my point is that he had real accusers that have credible accusations with some evidence to them and some corroborating evidence to corroborate their stories, right? And guess what? As soon as Roy Moore loses, those people are gone. The Democrats, they all leave town, just like Rush calls them drive-by media. They get their tents they shove their tents in their vans. The satellites come down off the top of the vans, and they jump in, and they are out of town. They are gone. And the victims are just like, what happened?
No, man, we ain't got time for you. We used you for what you were for.
And by the way, they're not speaking up because they're like, hey, I got my $7,000.
Yes.
I got that's all I came here for. I came here for my $7,000. And so it all goes away.
So breaking news. Scandal unfolding for Senator Dianne Feinstein after Kavanaugh hearings revelations. An anonymous staffer says her office paid Dr. Ford's legal retainer and polygraph fee after Representative Ann Eshoo leaked letter to the media. Updates coming. Feinstein must resign. There's a very, very good possibility that she could be in trouble, and Senator Cotton. Oh, there he is. That's him right there. Senator Tom Cotton. Was on Deface the Nation, and
let's hear what he had to say.
He was talking about it, and old John Dickerson tried to. He's like, no. Hold on.
No. John Dickerson.
So check this out.
See, you can't block somebody that's on the air.
Right. You got to be careful who you invite on your show.
Right.
These allegations are completely unsupported by any evidence. What evidence there is to a 36-year-old claim all support Judge Kavanaugh's denial. But the Democrats have disgraced this process in the United States Senate in the orchestrated smear campaign of character assassination they've run against Judge Kavanaugh.
Their argument, of course, was that Dr. Ford asked to have this held in confidentiality and that they tried to do that. And that's what.
So let me talk. No, John. Let me talk to you about that. Let me talk to your listeners about, or your viewers about that. There is a well-established process of confidentiality on the committee. Dianne Feinstein could have showed that letter to Chuck Grassley, and the two of them, as the leaders of that committee, could have shared it with the FBI, who could have discreetly conducted this inquiry in July and in August without betraying Ms. Ford's confidences. And they have betrayed her. They pointed her to lawyers who lied to her and did not tell her that the committee staff was willing to go to California to interview her. All that's water under the bridge. Those lawyers are going to have to face a D.C. bar investigation into their misconduct. Dianne Feinstein and her staff is going to face an investigation for why they leaked that.
Awesome. That's called justice. Real justice.
So the lawyers are facing a bar investigation. You could be disbarred, and have your law license taken away. I mean, that's your livelihood. That's where you make money. What would you do?
Ask Bill Clinton. He was disbarred.
Well, what he did is he got with the Clinton Foundation.
You just get a nonprofit, and you go around and you say, hey, if you want this Lolita Express to keep on shuttling people, we need lots of money. We need bodies. We need people. We need to go to Haiti, and we need to collect all the victims. Wow. We need to get them to the island. We need this thing shuttling, and we need lots of money. Let's go. I'm just saying.
Yikes. So violence this week. We had violence. Who was that was attacked? Orrin Hatch. Well, we saw the one where Flake was attacked and Flake buckled, and she kept saying, look at me, look at me. And it was unbelievable how he's such a soy boy. So
are you talking about Flake?
Yeah.
Well, the thing about Flake is there's some speculation. You ready to put on your tinfoil hat? Like, what's his name? Have you seen Thomas Wichter? He puts a colander.
Yeah, colander.
So anyway, the strainer, whatever.
And Alex Jones, who has been unpersoned, used to wrap his head with aluminum
foil. He does that as a parody, I think.
No, it's for real. We'll never know. We'll never know.
Get your tinfoil hat on real quick, or colander, whatever you want to get. It's possible that the person who started screaming at Flake may have known that was coming. That may have all been orchestrated. He may have known, okay, so I need to betray Trump by voting no or whatnot, or to delay it with an FBI investigation in hopes that somehow we convince the people to demand that we do an FBI investigation until evidence shows up, because we know it happened. We know what happened, so the evidence has got to be there.
The screamer was a paid shill by the Soros administration.
But I almost feel like
the Soros administration.
I almost feel like the way things played out, I almost feel like Flake needed to be it needed to all be coordinated. Where Flake's like, okay, so what time are they coming? Okay, so they're gonna. So I need to be here at what time?
Okay. Don't let the elevator close. See, and the reason why I'm bringing this up is watch this Orrin Hatch video. After we get done talking about this, watch juxtapose Orrin Hatch, old dog Orrin Hatch. And I'm just saying, you can see that Orrin Hatch's video leads credence to what you're saying.
To my tinfoil hat theory.
To what you're saying.
Yeah, I feel like it's possible that Flake made sure that this was all set up. Not that he orchestrated it, but that he went along with it to give some sort of reason that he would do this other than, listen, I know I have a constituency, which actually I don't. Once you announce
you're done.
That you are leaving the Senate, you no longer have a constituency. Period. And by the way, I don't want to get too much off because I know you have a video on cue.
Orrin Hatch.
But Scott Adams Says came out with a video that I thought he was completely opposite on. He believes that once you are no longer beholden to your constituency because you're announcing your retirement. He had come out. He had been asked point blank, would you have been able to order this FBI investigation before a vote saying, I vote yes now, but it's going to be a no if we don't get a week-long FBI investigation. Could you have done that if you were going up for re-election this year? And he said, absolutely not. Well, Scott Adams' reaction to that was, wow, so out of all the senators, Flake is the only one that can be honest. He's the only one that can tell the truth. And I was just like, no, it's actually the opposite.
Right.
The opposite is this, which is I am beholden to my voters. I have to, if I make enough of my voters unhappy with my decisions, then I am going to lose the election. So obviously I have to do the right thing.
Right.
Or I need to be, my actions need to be supported by my constituency. You may do something that's unpopular, but when you go back in front of them and say, guys, let me walk you through my decision-making process, and then by the time I'm done telling you why I did what you did, you should be comfortable with me making the right decision. No, what really happened was, I can do what I want now, which is totally the wrong thing, which is totally vindictive, which is just jam it to Donald Trump. To hell with the people of Arizona. To hell with the conservatives that want me to do the right thing. I'm going to do for me, not for Arizona, not for the people of Arizona, but for me personally.
And whatever money I'm getting on the back end because I'm allowing this girl to scream at me.
Right, and I'm glad you brought that up because I almost forgot this. We believe that he is making the decision that he's making because somebody like CNN could come up.
So he's interviewing.
He's wide open for corruption. CNN could come up to him and say, listen, flaky boy, Jeffy boy, listen.
You know that envelope with those pictures?
Here's an envelope. No, forget the pictures. Here's an envelope full of money.
Oh, right.
We can have you sign a multi-million-dollar contract right now, knowing that you have nothing going on after this November. You ain't got nothing going on. None. Sign right here. We'll get you started come second week of November. You can start with us, multi-million-dollar contract, but you don't get it without voting for an FBI investigation. You got to do that for us.
They probably told him to vote no, and they hassled back and forth.
It was a negotiation.
And then he finally said, you know what? Here's what I can do. So we can stall this.
And by the way, I love Scott Adams to death. I think he's brilliant. He comes up with great takes. I think he has some of the most unique takes out there. I would highly recommend watching every single one of his scopes. But that one point, I cannot believe you cannot have gotten it any more wrong, because the truth is now the only thing he's answering to is his pocketbook.
Right.
Which is, CNN wants me to vote no, and they're going to give me millions of dollars. And by the way, he has nothing to lose. Nothing to lose. His constituency can't do anything for him. But anyway, so we're thinking that the elevator thing may have been a setup, and Orrin Hatch.
Let's see Orrin Hatch's elevator attack.
Yes.
Don't sleep with me. Why aren't you brave enough to talk to us and exchange it with us? Don't you wave your hand at me?
Okay, so for those of you listening to audio only, Orrin Hatch waved his hand at her like, go away. This is ridiculous. Go away.
I waved my hand at you. When you grow up, when I grow up.
Yes.
He said, when you grow up, I'll talk to you or something.
That's exactly what he said. Then he dips in the elevator.
Oh, God.
Okay, so they're screaming, how dare you talk to women that way? And they're holding the elevator open so that the door will not close.
Oh, no.
This is exactly what happened to Flake. And that's why we got the video of him being absolutely humiliated. He was humiliated in that elevator.
That's right. You just whispered us.
You gotta hold the door, ma'am. You're gonna get arrested. Senator, do you believe women?
Okay, so
the security guy, probably Secret Service, said if you're going to hold that door open, you're going to get arrested.
Yes.
And then he was very quick and forceful with that reaction, which is awesome. So there you go.
There wasn't a delay like with Flake. There was an absolute delay, stall. The door was open. Nobody was yelling back at her.
Which means Jeff would have told the Secret Service guy, now listen, they're going to hold the door open.
They're not going to be. They won't be violent. Don't worry, they're not going to hurt me.
Yeah, because we're working together. It's a little setup here.
Right.
We need you to keep it down. Don't tell anybody, but we need you to not tell them to get out of the door.
Right.
That makes sense.
Oh, absolute sense.
Wow.
Orrin Hatch, when you grow up and these women look to be in their 50s, they were old battle axes.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable. Now look at the shaming that these women can do to men, old white men.
Dare you talk to a woman like that?
They can shame you.
That's mocking, by the way.
Okay, yeah. Well, but I mean, for they shamed the hell out of Flake. They shamed him, and that's acceptable to be shamed. But Flake didn't do anything, though. Flake, as far as we know, Flake didn't commit any violent acts against women whatsoever, but they still shamed him. That's why this this Me Too, this Him Too movement,
right?
Because now Jeff Flake is now part of the Him Too movement.
Apparently, he got accosted.
Yeah, he got accosted. So this Me Too movement is absolute sham. It's a sham. It's taken over by the feminists to give them more of a green light to go ahead and bully and shame people. One person did it. Y'all did it. Come on, man. What are we talking about here?
Yeah, it's weird. It's like, when your mom tells you to use your inside voice. It's like a precursor to when you grow up and instead of screaming down your senators and congressmen walking around D.C. in public or having dinner with their family,
right?
That's not the right way to do it. The way to do it is you can call the office, you can email them, and if you're in D.C., you can actually show up to their office during business hours. And if they're in town, it's possible you may actually get a face-to-face with them, especially if you are a constituent of that person. These are representatives of certain constituencies. In the case of Orrin Hatch, I would hope that the people screaming at him, which, by the way, I don't recommend screaming, but neither of us do. But if that's not your senator or your congressman, they don't have to listen to you.
No, think about this. If you're a Democrat from California and you approach, I don't know, Mitch McConnell out of Kentucky.
Yeah.
I mean, what are we talking about
That's
here,
not
man?
your guy.
No.
That's not your guy. And this is the problem with, globalists. It's not just the whole globe. I mean, states need to be separate and individual and have their own thing going on to a certain extent. And to think that any one given senator or congressman from some random state that you're not a member of should listen to you is just a misunderstanding of the concept of how the government works here in America. So now Mitch McConnell's a little different because Mitch McConnell is the Senate Majority Leader.
Right,
so
leader.
he sort of has to listen to more people than just his own personal
But if you're a Democrat protester, ain't nobody listening to you.
They shouldn't.
Right. And
unless your name's Flake. I mean, come on.
Mike Pence did a phenomenal job presiding over the vote. Kept pounding the little button gavel thingy. Let's get some order, regain order. The screaming and the screeching and the yelling was so. This is good. Don't be, folks. I want to make this an absolute point. I talk about this in my scopes all the time. Do not be upset. Do not be anxious. Do not be worried. We're going to get to the Trump prophecies here in a little bit. But don't be worried. I'm telling you, there's a plan and a reason for every single thing that happens. All this screaming, yelling that I know you hate, and I hate it too. All the eruptions and the...
Shouldn't we be fear-mongering them into making sure that they go out and vote?
Yes, we should fear-monger you, but I'm not going to.
Okay.
I want you to understand that it's working out the way it's supposed to work out, and the actions of those in the Democrat Party or those affiliated, whether it be feminist, whether it be Me Too, whether it be Black Lives Matter, all the terrorist organizations, the KKK, white supremacists, all of them in the Democrat Party, all of them, they are out to show everybody who they really are. And let the independents want nothing. They want nothing to do with any of this stuff. Not anything. They're unplugging and they're waiting for the big election. That's it. They know who they're pulling the hammer for because the handle for because of the great news we're going to get into.
All right.
But with that being said, there was violence this week. The DNC eruptions on Tuesday. Pentagon intercepted apparent ricin attack in the mail. Protesters assaulted Representative Andy Harris in his office. A hazmat team was called to Senator Ted Cruz's Houston office after white powder-filled an envelope came in the mail. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell was stalked and harassed as he walked through the Reagan National Airport in D.C. McConnell had polio as a child. I didn't know that, but this was part of the article. And is considered handicapped. This is your Democrat Party in action. That was from Gateway Pundit, gatewaypundit.com. My dad had polio as a child, but it did not cripple him. It didn't cripple him or leave him crippled for life. I mean, he ran marathons throughout his 40s. So, I don't know. God bless Mitch McConnell for keeping it on. But anyways, so what was this all about? Why was this Kavanaugh thing? Why was this the Democrats' number one concern? Why were they doing this?
I can't wait to hear what your answer is because I'm just like, to me, it seems like a unforced error.
Other than, well, I mean, unless they're that dumb. Other than they're really
Seems
thinking
unbelievably dumb.
Right. The far-fetched one that's the closest is that they were trying to push this off till 2018.
Yeah.
Win 2018
Right.
with a whole month of anger and hate and vitriol.
Right.
Win 2018 and then not allow any Supreme Court to be nominated throughout 19 and 20 till they win election in 2020, and then they can appoint. I mean, folks, I know it sounds far-fetched, but
they were going for the long game. They wanted to listen. There is a littered, like the history is littered with the bodies of people that were put up for nomination for Supreme Court justice who have not made it to the Supreme Court because they had to withdraw their name. I'm sorry I don't have the list in front of me, but I can think of a couple like during George Bush's administration.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, there were people put up and they had to be pulled down. And the thing is this could not have seemed that far-fetched for them to get Kavanaugh's name withdrawn, either by himself, having Kavanaugh say, whoa, I didn't sign up for this, I'm withdrawing. Or, whoa, yeah, I am a gang rapist, so I better go ahead and withdraw. Or Trump saying, you know what, this is too much for this guy. Plus, it's not going to look good for me to jam him through with this much opposition. Let's go ahead and pull him, and we'll put somebody up that's going to sail through a little bit smoother.
Right.
Meanwhile, if he had done that, that would have delayed the whole process till long after 2018. And by the way, do not think for a second that I think that Trump said, I should take him off. But if I do, that's going to make it so that we can't get a justice appointed till after 2018. So even though I really don't like this guy Kavanaugh anymore, I mean, I picked him initially, but now I am totally cold on him. We got to stick with him, guys. We got to stick with. No, I do not believe that. I think that they were fighting a whole different ball game here.
It is the same analogy as that you never, ever, ever, under any circumstances, apologize to a leftist.
Yeah, and you don't back down anymore. You know,
they will destroy you. They will destroy you.
For years we did. The reason the fight, I was a brat when I was a kid.
Yeah, I know.
So, breaking news, Carrie Smith was a spoiled brat. And I'll tell you what I discovered early on in my childhood was after being told no, I could eventually get a yes, even if I got 10 no's. I could get a yes. I just have to be really persistent, really annoying, and raise hell.
Right.
And if I got a 9th no, I might have to really lay it on thick and really get annoying.
Because the yes is coming.
The yes is coming. And I think that over the years, the Republican Party, which is, we know it as the uniparty, it's part of, they're all together. They're all in this together against the people. I think that they've gotten so many yeses and so many, especially with the Supreme Court justices. I mean, it's always been that it was like, well, do we really want to fight this? No. Okay. All right. Well, we'll get it through. Or, hey, we don't really like our current president. It could be President Bush or whatever. We don't like that. We want to give him hell. Let's oppose this guy. And they always get the withdrawal. They always get the withdrawal. It's like clockwork. So here, what you saw today was not that we shouldn't have put Kavanaugh up because he's so controversial. What you saw was the Democrats doing what they normally do, but this time the no really means no, and they're not accepting it, and that's why it got so bad. And they lost their mind, and they didn't realize that, wow, if this no really stands, this might affect our chances in 2018.
Right.
And guess what?
It will affect your chances.
Do you know why Donald Trump has such beautiful, perfect, well-behaved, and successful kids?
Because he didn't say yes all the time.
Because no really meant no. When he said no, there was no, but Dad.
It wasn't like Malika. What was Obama's daughter's name?
Oh, I don't even know.
Out at the club, smoking weed on the Instagrams. Yeah.
Well, I mean, her dad was part of the Choom gang, so we shouldn't be too surprised by that.
No.
But no, I mean, when you say no to your kids 10 times and then on the 11th time you say, fine, just leave me alone. If I say yes, will you get out of my hair?
Oh, yeah, I will.
Yeah. And that's when you turn into a perfect angel, right? You're just like, yes, mommy, yes, I'll be the best kid you will ever hope to have. And guess what?
So
you become spoiled.
My thought process was Russia has not really gone away. It's actually starting to gain a lot of traction, a lot of heat, and exposing all the things that we ever said about Russia, and everything we ever said about Russia is coming true. Meaning, it's all linked back to the Clintons.
Okay.
And the Democrat Party. I'm claiming that this was a huge cover because there were some big things that happened this week. There's interviews that happened this week, and they had to create some kind of cover for the media to cover something else. Judicial Watch this week sues the Defense Department. The DOJ sues the DOJ for contracts on Trump campaign initial spy, Stefan Halper. The top FBI attorney provided. James Baker. That's James Baker. So Stefan Halper.
Mm-hmm.
You might have heard the name. I've mentioned the name before. It's one of those obscure names that we didn't really get to. I even had a video of a guy. There's a DOJ employee who was working. He was doing his job, and he noticed contracts were coming in, and this guy, Stefan Halper, was getting paid to write these contracts. He was getting paid to the tune of $1,500 a line. $1,500 a line. And they were tens and thousands of dollars.
Okay.
Hundreds of thousands of dollars going to this guy, Stefan Halper. Well, this DOJ employee went to his boss, and he told his boss about this. He was soon, the employee was soon, his security clearance was pulled from him. He was soon out of a job, and his boss had direct connections up the line to the DOJ, meaning the Comeys, the McCabe's, had a direct line up to the McCabe's and the Bruce Orrs of the world. And so he had to get rid of this guy because Stefan Halper was the initial, he was being paid with taxpayer dollars, the initial spy on Trump to initiate this entire thing. And so we find out this week there was a meeting, and James Baker, who's the top FBI attorney who provided explosive testimony regarding Trump and Russia probe this week, the last refuge with the number 2 at the last refuge, the number 2. James Baker's testimony.
Sundance on from Conservative Treehouse.
Yes, Conservative Treehouse. James Baker testimony. DNC lawyers met with FBI officials prior to October 2016 FISA application. Yes, folks, James Baker testified. that top lawyers in the DOJ, Department of Justice, met with Hillary Clinton's lawyers. You know, the law firm, it's called Coe, the law firm Coe, that the Clintons paid, that then paid Fusion GPS.
Right, the middleman. It was money laundering scheme.
Right, and then they paid Glenn Simpson to write the Russian PP Dossagate, and they also paid Nellie Orr. They were on the payroll. Nellie Orr's husband, Bruce Orr, worked for the DOJ, Department of Justice. So that's the connection there. And then also top FBI attorney saying, yes, I met with with the lawyers of the Democrat National Committee before the FISA was even filed, before the very first one was even filed for. And so, folks, that this whole thing is coming full circle. Jim Jordan, he said, as the FBI's top attorney, Baker was directly involved in handling applications for the FISA warrants granted against former Trump campaign Carter Page. So you could see where we have a problem. Baker, working for the government, handled documents for the FISA warrant on Carter Page, also met with the DNC. You see how that's a problem. Okay. Also, Mark Meadows, quote, "This witness confirmed that things were done in an abnormal fashion. That's extremely troubling." I know it seems weird, abnormal fashion, but that is really, that's bad. That's bad. Well, you see, McCabe was fired for doing things in an abnormal fashion. And so was Comey. Comey was supposed to consult the FBI before he wasn't even supposed to be making a judgment. Comey really overstepped it when he made a judgment call.
He's just so corrupt. It's unbelievable.
Right. So he cost himself to his entire career and whatnot. And so this is Jim Jordan speaking about, folks, Jim Jordan was in this meeting. Jim Jordan was in this meeting where they were interviewing top lawyer for the DOJ, folks, and that went down this week, and nobody's. Did you hear about this?
No.
Nobody's talking about this.
Bruce Orr was giving information to the FBI. We know Christopher Steele was giving information to the FBI. We also learned today that there was another source giving information directly to the FBI that dealt with the Russian investigation. So we felt that was important. There's some other good information we got on some other issues that, again, we hope this transcript will get out soon. So, I mean, the kind of information that the American people need to know, and they need to know it as soon as possible. So this was, in my mind, maybe the most informative, I think Mark would agree, the most informative and best deposition we've had yet as far as learning new things and confirming some concerns and suspicions we had for a long time.
What Jim said is probably the most informative interview that we've had to date. Some of the things that were shared were explosive in nature. I mean, I couldn't believe that I was hearing some of the testimony that here in the United States that the DOJ and FBI were involved with based on that without sharing details. We did learn one other thing, and that is based on some testimony today, some of the footnotes, FISA footnotes that were in the Democrat memo were inconsistent with the testimony we heard today, which would shed light on perhaps the FBI knowing more about the potential bias and motivations behind those sharing information.
So this, and I know, folks, this is a long, drug-out procedure, but the slow walking of this, understand, is not a problem anymore. This is actually a good thing that they're slow walking it, because I want everybody to keep in mind 2018, 2020. It's not fear-mongering, but this is the reason why you got to get out and vote, because they had our entire country, our everything that we hold dear, all of it was in the palm of the hands of the Democrat Party. Every single thing that we hold true and dear, law and order, all of it was in the balance, and the Democrat Party was pulling the strings to take utter utter control, complete unfettered control over the entire government. And I agree now. They said it before the election, and it might have been conjecture or people fear-mongering, whatever it is. But if Hillary was elected, there would never be another Republican president ever again. That's a fact.
And
now.
we were worried about the fact that Obama, during his second term, some really weird stuff was happening, and we were worried that he was going to abolish the presidency and become chancellor for life or something to that effect.
Don't think
Premier.
And people laughed about that, but I kept bringing up Venezuela was a democracy, and Hugo Chavez overturned the rules of law. He stacked the courts. They're stacking the court now. What's his name? Maduro, stacking the courts now with his people. They changed their constitution and changed the rules. That's it. It's done.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, it's hard to imagine how precarious everything is. And, when you have a majority of the country, or, I mean, hell, only a small percentage of Germany had actual Nazi party people or people that supported the Nazi party, and Hitler was able to just take over the whole damn thing because they made themselves look bigger, more important, and they propagandized everybody in a certain way that worked out. But, with Obama putting everybody where they were, I mean, we're not talking conspiracy theory stuff here. You need to really watch out for this kind of stuff. And I think the reason why they were chill in 2016 and put their guard down just enough to allow Donald Trump to get elected was because they were so damn sure Hillary was going to be the next president, and everybody was going to be able – and I honestly think that young people that make up the Democrat Party, that make up these socialists, these communists or whatever, they're not old enough. And I know from personal experience, I don't think this far ahead. I mean, I had a conversation with Charlie Kirk, who's 24 years old, and I was speaking to him in terms that a 45-year-old or a 42-year-old would understand because of their life experiences. This stuff was going right over his head, totally over his head. And that's not a slam on Charlie Kirk. It's a slam on 24-year-olds, right. And they just don't think far enough into the future that they're ever going to get caught. So you got all these young whippersnappers running the government, and they're like, wait, you mean we can use the IRS to suppress our opposition? And we could shut down these Tea Party organizations?
Just don't get caught on tape by Project Veritas saying it.
Well, yeah, and they don't even think far enough into the future. To them, 4, 5, 6, 7, 10, 15 years from now, that's a whole lifetime into the future.
That's another world.
They truly believe mid-20s kids, for lack of a better word, I won't say don't. They believe the idea that it's possible that they will have a majority in elections. I don't know what's going on with my chair, but it is just squeaking like crazy. Sorry about that. It's going, I got this rock. Okay, so anyway, they truly believe that because they're in power and because they won a national election and they have the majority and they win re-election, so 2 in a row, young people in their mid-20s who've gone 8 years with an Obama presidency, they think it's over for the Republicans. They will never have power again. And let me tell you, as a 42-year-old right now,
there will be another Democrat
president. Oh, yeah. We will
have
a Democrat president.
Yep.
Period. It will happen. The only way we're not going to have a Democrat president again is if Donald Trump were to abolish the Constitution and just make it a dictatorship. I don't want him to do that.
No.
I'm willing to sacrifice the fact that there will be a day in the near future, in my mind, where we're going to have Democrats in control again, in order to save our Constitution. And so it will happen. And I think that the reason why so much criminal activity happened under Obama, the IRS scandal, the FISA-gate, oh my God, how did they think they were going to get away with this? The reason why is they couldn't envision that a Republican was ever going to have power again. They thought that Obama was so great.
Yeah.
He got elected. He got reelected. Democrats are the best. Republicans are the worst. They're just a bunch of racist old white. They're on the outs. The future is the Democrat Party. People are never going to go back and say, you know what? I think I want to have a Republican as president now. They truly believe that this is going to be Democrats forever. And so they're like, well, what difference does it make if we can investigate? We can go after them and spy on them. We can abolish their Fourth Amendment. We'll abolish their Sixth Amendment. We're going to abolish their First Amendment. And pretty soon here, we're going to abolish their Second Amendment. And what difference does it make? They're never going to have power again because they're young. You get into the 40s and you start to realize, I'm starting to see a pattern here where you get Democrats in charge for a while and then Republicans come roaring back and it goes back and forth and back and forth. Had they known that, they would have never thrown it all away. These people are going to see prison.
They would have locked it down. See, if they were more worried about being exposed, the FISA warrant that he was talking about that was written is so awful. It's so bad because they didn't care and they really believed they weren't going to get caught.
Well, and part of that, something's going on with these FISA judges because either A, the Democrats knew, hey, guys, listen, I know that there's these rules, but I'm telling you right now, these FISA judges, it's a rubber stamp. They're just...
What I say, what was it, around 10 or 11,000 FISA requests out of 10 to 11,000. See, I took it the wrong way. I said, and there was only 3 rejections and 3 of them were Obama's. And I said, oh my goodness, they must really, 10,000 approvals, they must really cross their T's and dot their I's.
Right. You thought it was because...
And Kerry's like, no, man.
It's a rubber stamp.
It was so awful. The one the Obama administration put up, the FISA warrant, was so wrong and so bad. Right. That it didn't even pass muster.
Right. I imagine that there is care put into these and thought like, if this isn't going to pass, we might not even want to put it forward. And that would give you a higher percentage of passing. But honestly, it sounds to me like a rubber stamp. And I think they knew that, which is why this stuff started going down. It's kind of like, it's one thing for your mom to say no 9 times, knowing that she's going to say yes the 10th time.
Right.
It's another thing to have your mom or dad say yes the first time, every time, no matter what. What do you think that does to these people? They're going to end up saying, oh, well, how about a FISA warrant for this? Well, how about a FISA warrant for this? Well, hell, let's have a FISA warrant for this.
Let's have a FISA warrant party.
That's what it was.
We'll all get together and just start making them up. We'll have a weekend sleepover. I'll have the beer shipped in. And you get the pizzas, and
oh my gosh,
you get the women.
Let's just have a kegger.
Yeah, have a kegger.
We'll have funnels. We'll be doing upside down keg stands.
Call Brett Kavanaugh.
Oh, jeez. Did you go there?
Hashtag too soon.
Oh my goodness.
Is it too soon?
Too soon.
So anyway. So Wednesday was when the first time when Mark Meadows had seen this, and this is a quote from Mark Meadows. Confidential human sources used by the FBI actually taped members within the Trump campaign. There's a strong suggestion in some of the text messages, emails, and so forth, who was involved, that extraordinary measures were used to surveil. So this all goes back. I know, folks, I'm just saying, everybody's like, Brian, we know they did it. I know. But and now it's got to be all drug out, and everybody's got to come out of the closet, come out of the shadows, slow walking this. I want everybody to see that every step of the way, this is what they did. This is how they did it. This is how criminal they are. And all the players involved, whether it be Sally Yates signing off on the first FISA warrant, or James Comey signing off on the second and third, or Rod Rosenstein signing off on the renewal of the FISA warrant, and then Donald Trump finds out after he was appointed Deputy Attorney General that that's what he did. Oh, man, come on.
And like I said, I feel like there's got to be something up with these judges because either it's a rubber stamp or they were in on the scam, and it is a scam. Or it's a scandal, at least. Right. If they were rubber stamping it, it's certainly a scandal. Because a judge has to know that, we're talking about the Fourth Amendment. I would say that warrants have to be up there with one of the most important things that judges need to consider. Because you're getting asked by a government official who has the right to use force, deadly force if need be, against its citizens to violate one of the 10 important amendments of the Bill of Rights. And I think it's up there with people like to rank the Bill of Rights, like which ones are the most important. Some people say the Second Amendment protects the First Amendment, whatever. So there's this ranking, but Fourth is up there. It's right up there, and our founders thought this through and thought it was super important because of how they were abused. They lived in a tyranny. They lived in the tyranny that gave birth to the Bill of Rights.
Right. Now, the Third Amendment that doesn't really do anything anymore, but apparently back in the day, if there was a British soldier walking down the street, you had to put him up.
Well, if he wanted to. If he said,
you had to put him up.
Getting pretty tired.
You defeat him, take care of him, put him up.
I'm hungry and tired, and I think I'm going to use this house right here.
And now we say that doesn't happen, and I apologize, but this really happened. This real story. It was out of Texas. There was a local sheriff that had a beef with a local citizen, and apparently the sheriff either got a warrant or didn't get the warrant or thought a warrant was coming, broke into the guy's house with force, like dark hours in the night. Mm-hmm. The guy fired back, shot the sheriff multiple times. The guy was never charged with anything, and it looks like the sheriff is in a lot of trouble.
He survived it?
He survived it, but He's in a lot of trouble for doing this. And now we got Judicial Watch suing. He's suing I think he's suing whoever was involved in getting the warrants on Donald Trump's lawyer. Judicial Watch is suing to get those documents to see if the warrants on Donald Trump's lawyer were even legal. How is that even possible? The sitting president, you raid his lawyer's house?
Right. That's
the hotel that he was living in?
I would like to see the warrant on that, but it's also a violation of the Sixth Amendment, which guarantees basically it protects the client attorney privilege.
Right. So real quick, guys, we're going to get real happy here right now. We're going to talk about something really happy. We're going to shift gears because I absolutely want to get to all these numbers and all this information. Trump did a couple of rallies this week.
Coming to Cincinnati on Friday.
Coming to Cincinnati. So he was
it's Lebanon.
Yeah, a little bit outside. But he was in Johnson City, Tennessee. And if y'all didn't know, Tennessee, they like Trump.
Okay,
that's
that
Trump,
makes sense.
Trump country. That's Marsha Blackburn running for,
Is it Congress? Or, I don't know.
Marsha Blackburn. That's all. If you live in Tennessee, it's all Marsha Blackburn.
Everybody stand by.
So this by thegatewaypundit.com. Trump rally. Longest lines we've ever seen. President Trump to hold rally at Freedom Hall in Johnson City, Tennessee tonight. He rips Warren, Biden, and Booker. Says, please run. Please run. And I know I had we had a video clip. I know we had a video clip of they were showing the lines. They walked the lines. It was a 5-minute video clip of them walking the lines. Is that you?
Yeah, Katja's. She wants to call in, but I don't have.
Hey, Katja, how you doing, sweetheart? Yeah, jump on Zoom real quick. I can give you a link for Zoom.
Oh yeah, you keep going. I'll talk to her.
So, the longest lines they've ever seen. I don't have the clip. I don't know where it's at. But anyways, they went 5 minutes walking down the line to show the lines. They were saying they were hours and hours long. Tens of thousands of people were at the Trump rally. And again, like I said, it is Trump country, if you will. A lot of conservatives in Tennessee. But with that being said, we didn't see. I mean, we did see long lines. I sent you the link on Telegram. We did see long lines during the run up in the campaign. But folks, look at what's going on. I mean, I'm talking about getting happy here real quick. Look at what's going on. We've got an economy that's just absolutely boom, boom, boom. And I got some really good numbers coming out. GOB Blackburn. She says blue wave will hit the red wall at the Tennessee border. And apparently it did, folks. The blue, I don't know, the blue wave, that ain't happening. There are a lot of people really upset and worried about that. And this is why we've also got Google coming back in as well. Google search engineers advocating for censorship of terrorist and despicable, biased Marsha Blackburn. I'm serious. The Democrat Party, the Googles, all of them, they're all in bed with each other, and it's just absolutely awful.
She's a congressman for the 7th District, Tennessee.
Okay, awesome. Marsha Blackburn. Donald Trump has thrown his support behind her. And see, look at this, folks, and we say this all the time, and look at this. Donald Trump is campaigning in the midterms to help secure our freedoms, to help secure what we hold dear, to help secure who was it that, Charlie Kirk, 10 things the Democrats will take away if they win the House and the Senate. Donald Trump is campaigning to stop this from happening, and Charlie Kirk wrote, the first thing they're going to take is your money. They've already talked about it. They're going to rescind the tax cuts. They're going to undo the tax cuts where thousands of utility companies across the nation have already cut utility bills because of the tax cuts. I mean, we go on and on about the money that people are getting back and receiving back. It's just, it's huge. It's a thing that's helping to drive this economy. The second thing the Democrats are going to take, if they take back the House and Senate, they're going to take economic growth. They're going to take the new jobs that are being created. The quality of health care. Yeah, keep your doctor, keep your plan. No, it's going back to Obamacare. That's really what they want. Single-payer health care. Funds to defend America. Progress on peace, they're going to take that away. Secure borders, they've already said. Open borders for all, they're going to take that away. They are already coming for our gun rights. They've done it before. They're never going to stop. Our voices on social media. Can you imagine if the Democrats hold the House and the Senate? They will never, ever stop the Googles, the Facebooks, and the Twitters for censoring our voices and for the things that, for us being able to not be shadow banned. And forget about Facebook. Facebook has now become the number one criminal when shadow banning. Already done it to Brandon Strucka and also Mark Dice. Mark Dice is like, they ain't nothing. I can't do nothing.
We've been dealing with it for longer. Most people, this is a phenomenon that started like pretty much 2017 for most people. But we've been getting it because remember when we first started doing this, we were audio only, right? We were a radio show. That's why we're at Smith Radio on Twitter instead of at Smith Media or whatever. It's because we were thinking radio because that's what was available back then. That was it.
Right.
And so we would put up videos to promote the show on YouTube. And, you know, when there was a beheading video or something like that, which, by the way, they were kind of edited so that you didn't see the beheading.
Right.
So we thought it was okay, but YouTube was just totally arbitrary on what they thought was acceptable and what wasn't. So they would ban us. So we were subject to that kind of stuff from the get-go. And like Facebook was killing us.
Facebook was putting me on 3-day suspensions, multiple suspensions, and not telling you why you were doing it. Because you shared an article to too many groups.
Oh, right. I remember that.
Well, then why the hell are you allowing me to be in all those? You know, you could be added to a group that you don't even – my wife is added to groups that she had no idea.
You're right.
She's put in a group.
I could add somebody to a group without getting their permission or anything, just like, oh, yeah, Brian could be in this group.
Well, they know I'm a Trump supporter, so now they've nominated me to thousands of Trump groups.
Well, there's that, and also this is you are God if you own a website. If you own a website and you're a coder,
right,
and you know how to code, you are God. You can make anything. Anything. If I don't want you to sign up for more than, let's say 10 groups a day, there's a code for that.
And it's not that hard.
I could just write code.
If people are forcing you into groups at a rate that you don't approve of, there should be a button I can hit. Do not allow me to be added to a group.
They could make it automatic. They could write code that says when Brian gets to, or when this account gets to this many groups in this amount of time period, they are now no longer allowed to enter any more groups until after so much time has passed. This is simple code.
Right.
And for them to sit there and say that you need to be banned for doing it a way that they don't think you should be doing just shows that their priorities are all screwed up.
But if you pay them, they'll do it for you. You can pay Facebook to share your article or whatever it is. You can pay them to put it out there, but they'll ban you if you put it out there manually yourself.
Oh my gosh.
Not with external codes, but just manually. Okay, so I digress. Getting back to it, though.
Okay.
So the good things are going on. Right now, Claire McCaskill made a fool of herself this past week as she announced opposition to Kavanaugh. Josh Hawley has now taken a lead over Senator Claire McCaskill. He's got an 8%. I got 7 here, but that's an old number. He's got an 8% lead now over Claire McCaskill. Missouri voters say Claire McCaskill is wrong on Kavanaugh. The poll, it looks like Claire McCaskill shot herself in the foot by opposing Kavanaugh, especially with women voters. That by Breitbart News. Barack Obama was out again this week, in case y'all didn't know, which is funny because after the last round of endorsements that he gave, it didn't go over too well. We all trashed him for all the awful things he was saying, how he referred to himself, 120 times referred to himself in a 60-minute speech. Yeah, that didn't go over. He now endorses, on his second round of endorsements, socialist Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. She is now endorsed by Barack Hussein Obama. Let that stick with the voters because we know who she is and we know not to. And every time she hasn't been doing interviews lately, in case you guys didn't know. You recently see that?
Well, it's because she doesn't know anything. Like, I don't know how
when
old
she talks, it gets bad.
She looks very young, but
she's not old enough to run for the Senate. She's old enough to run for Congress.
Interesting.
But not the Senate. I think Congress is, you got to be at least 25, and the Senate, you have to be like 28, something. It's really odd. Little odd little things there. But, President of the United States, 35? 35?
I think it's 35.
Yeah.
Which makes sense. I think Thomas Jefferson was 35 when he wrote the Constitution. It's amazing, isn't it?
The intelligence that these founding fathers had is just unbelievable sometimes, folks. So check this out. This article written by Gateway Pundit again. Gateway Pundit was very, very busy this week. Jim Hoff just staying at it this week. A force awakens. GOP voter intensity comes roaring back amid Kavanaugh firestorm. All right, folks. Here's what's going on. September 12th, just a few weeks ago, voter intensity for the Democrats was at a 52% level. That's what they call it, a 52% level. Just a couple of weeks after that, they fell to a 49% level. Republicans, and this is the standard, after your president is elected, usually you slack off for that midterm election 2 years later, and historically the party loses. Well, and we were going into a lull. September 12th, the Republicans were at 38% intensity.
Okay.
And now, fast forward, 42%. It was a 14% difference that's now cut in half. And so and they're seeing a movement that is needed for a red wave to happen. You've got Heidi Heitkamp, 41 to Kramer, 53. In North Dakota, Heidi Heitkamp looking like she's going to lose that. Donnelly versus Braun, 43-41. Very, very close. Sinema, 47. McSally, 45. Another very, very close. And again, like I was saying, this is kind of old. These are the polls. These are kind of old. This is Claire McCaskill, 43, and Hawley, 43. Now he's moved 8 points above her, and she's fallen down. Blackburn, who Trump was stumping for in Tennessee. Blackburn, 48. Bredston, 43. That's looking really, really good. And so now this is another telltale sign. GOP fundraising. Because if you've got a red wave coming, you've got people donating, right?
Mm-hmm. Makes sense.
GOP fundraising through the roof. after appalling liberal smears on Judge Kavanaugh.
I was thinking this before, and by the way, Katja's wanting you to set up a go-to meeting or a meeting with her.
The Zoom?
Yeah, she downloaded it. But it's interesting.
I sent you the link.
Oh, you did?
On Telegram.
Okay, I'll get it.
And then send her the link.
So it's interesting. I thought things were doing so awesome for the Republicans that I almost felt like, first of all, it was fortunate that what happened with Flake happened. I feel like we had gotten an even bigger boost with the let's see if I can copy this. Let's copy it. There we go. With the Flake thing, because it extended it outraged people. It actually showed information that we didn't. Let's see if yes, it worked. It showed people information from the FBI. Their report was devastating to the left. And it would have never even happened had Flake not demanded it. So it's actually hilarious. For a second there, I actually thought, man, can we extend this even further?
Yeah.
Can we delay this like another week? Is there a way that we could blame the Democrats for delaying this yet another week and act like we don't want to? Like, well, we really don't want to, but man, and delay it all the way to like the last week before the election, but have a way to blame the Democrats on it the whole way.
Right.
Gosh, that would have been, because there was nothing. Every single solitary piece of evidence that was coming out, all the people that were sounding off about it, it was destroying them, and it was just so great for us. But
we'll have more. I promise. We've got a couple of weeks. We're down under. The 6th, we're under 40 days. We might even be closer to 30 days, less than 30 days away. November 6th is right around the corner, folks. Got to stay on top of this. Bring your friends and your family. Everybody that you know is a Trump supporter. Speak to them. I know all my friends and family that are Trump supporters. I've talked to them, and I've got 5 people that are going to vote that have never voted midterm but voted Trump. That's how you get a red wave. I'm talking about low-lying fruit. Easy pickings.
Okay.
Just go to hey, you Trump supporter? Yeah, sure am. You registered to vote? Yeah, sure am. You vote midterm? What? Midterm? What's that mean?
What's midterm mean?
Right. I'm serious. No, and don't make fun of them. Say, oh, great. I'm glad I got a hold of you. Let me let you know what's going on. So that's how we get the red wave going. So we've got fundraising through the roof. I had a Varney and Company video, but the audio kind of garbage. But
really? Worse than the Jim Jordan audio? That was like in a hall with a bad mic or something.
Very interesting GOP fundraising numbers up big.
Yeah, this is from Fox News, a source at the National Republican Congressional Committee looking at the amount of money coming in, raising money. This last week compared to the same period in August says donations up 175%. The amount raised is up 194%. The average gift given to the Republican Party is up 111%.
And the implication is that this is Kavanaugh.
That it's backfiring on the Democrats and it's firing up the Republican base to get more involved because of what they've seen during this process with Kavanaugh.
Could it be, Steve Hilton, that the Kavanaugh nomination and the sliming of Kavanaugh is a big plus politically for the Republicans in November?
Yes, in 2 ways. First of all, because it reaffirms the benefits of voting Republican. You get actual results. But secondly, it shows people why they're so angry with the Democrats and the way they've behaved and the way they treat them and think about anyone who's not in their camp. And I think that's why it reminds me very much of the mood in 2016, and 2018 could be another big surprise.
Yeah, something's happening, bubbling away beneath the surface, and it comes out when nobody's expecting it. What do you think? Kavanaugh is a plus for the Republicans.
I think he's definitely a plus. The question is the Kavanaugh wave going to crest and crash on the shore this weekend with the vote? And then will the Republicans be able to sustain that energy across the next 30 days up to the election? It looks like possibly they will in the Senate. They might even increase their seats in the Senate. Kramer is 11 points ahead of Heidi Heitkamp in North Dakota. But then there's the question of the House. And it's going to be up to the candidates, and it's going to be up to the Republican Party. These numbers from ASH suggest that there is
This makes no sense, people. I agreed with the question about whether or not this is going to last all the way up until election. What we experience this week is going to feel like ancient history come election time.
Oh, well, you
just have to remember it. Don't forget. Never forget.
Give it 10 days.
Yeah. Well, our next week's show, we're going to be like, oh, Kavanaugh was only last week? It's going to seem like ancient history. You just watch. Next Sunday, you just watch. Kavanaugh's going to seem like ancient history. But just don't forget. Don't forget that what we saw from the Democrats during the Kavanaugh debacle is universal. You don't have to have a Kavanaugh. In fact, Kavanaugh has nothing to do with it.
No.
He has nothing to do with this. It is their MO. It is what they do. It is the way they behave. This is everything about the Democrats. And you can't forget that. Oh, hello? We got somebody at the door? Audio only, I think.
Okay, that's fine.
So awesome. Well, I guess we should set just to finish up that point.
We'll go back to the fundraising, the big numbers, and the red wave, and why the red wave is
we'll
real.
Get back to it. But we have to cut in for Mrs. Katja Lee. She is a very integral part of the Trump campaign back in 2016, probably back in 2015, who was traveling all over the place, volunteering her time to make sure that we make America great again by getting Donald Trump elected. She also was a contributor for quite some time and fellow co-host of Your Voice America. And we have her on the horn right now. Are you there, Katja?
Hey.
What's up?
And people can find you at Crazy About Trump, right?
Crazy About Trump. That's correct, on Twitter.
Okay, now that's on the bottom of the screen if you're watching us live. Katja Lee, Crazy About Trump.
So what's going on? What do we have you on for? So by the way, before we get going, Katja has been meaning to come on this program for so long. And I think a long time ago when we were audio only, I think you came on once.
Oh, yeah.
But we'd like to have you sound off on something every week. But finally, after a long-awaited delay, we got you on. So what's going on?
I'm just so excited to be able to have a conversation with you all and share it with your listeners. You know, we've had such an amazing journey over the past 3 years, and I'm really excited about the midterms, and I feel that we're going to have a supermajority. I've said that
That's
a lot.
What I feel like, too.
And I really feel that, especially with this whole Brett Kavanaugh nonsense, with the left trying to completely diminish him and create a narrative that he's some kind of crazy rapist, has really defeated them in so many ways, because normal people that are just, wanting to make our country great and that love our country, whether they're Democrats or Republicans or independent, I think that generally speaking, people really love our country. And what we've witnessed over the last several weeks is completely an embarrassment.
Yes.
And so many people feel completely disgusted by it. So I feel very strongly that, so many people that I've personally talked to, and this is all over the country, not just in Ohio, but in Michigan and in Indiana, talking to folks in Kentucky and Tennessee and Alabama. These people have just had enough of it, and they are willing to, really get on board and to make America great again. Even folks that are staunch Democrats, they're disgusted by the display, and they're fearful for their kids, for their boys.
Right.
That you can work your butt off and go to college and be the top of your class and go to a prestigious college like Yale and do all these amazing things and give back to your community. And then one person can just come up and say, well, there's a rumor, or I heard, or
and based on politics.
Right.
Exactly. Or I believe this person did this to me, but you have absolutely no proof, nothing going on, no date, no information about how it happened. And, when you speak to a lot of these folks that have been sexually assaulted or abused, they know who did it. They know when it was done. They can explain to you exactly the place that it happened, the smell that they smelled. the perfume, the cologne, whatever it is, men or women. You know, this is not something that's made up. This is something that has been statistically, you know, with all the different folks that go through, you know, psychologists and things, they document all these things. So this is not something I'm just making up or somebody is. So I feel so strongly that, you know, Special K, I heard somebody say that earlier, it was one of those, you know, UFC fighters or something. He called him Special K. I love that with Kavanaugh, that the Special K, you know, he was able to get confirmed. And I feel that this gentleman, this man, was wronged, and it should never happen again, and that we should be ashamed that we allowed any of this kind of nonsense to even go on.
Well, I feel your sentiment, and everybody listening definitely feels your sentiment, but one of the things that we just heard in the previous soundbite before you called in, do you think that this sentiment is going to carry to election? It may seem like it's coming right up, but my gosh, you know how politics works and how the news cycle works. There's just so many things that after a month or even a couple of weeks, you're like, oh yeah, I forgot about that. That was so long ago. Are you sure that this wave that the Kavanaugh, it's a wave of outrage is what it is it going to carry us to election?
I feel that it's not just Kavanaugh. Of course, that is the most prominent thing that's in the news cycle right now. But I feel that it's just more of a wave of people just waking up to what's going on. You know, I've been so lucky to be able to drive across this country. And if I was to drive across this country 3 years ago, I'm just going to speak about, I guess, shovel-ready jobs.
Yeah. Right.
Highways, buildings being built, things like this. Okay. I am absolutely astonished. So recently, I was in Northwest Ohio, and that's a very a hard place. That's been really disseminated in so many ways because of trade. So you have, you know, the three that are up there in that area in Detroit. And I was absolutely blown away with the amount of building and commercial buildings that are going up, and folks that have owned these buildings that are investing in the buildings, and they're making them into something that's very beautiful, like the facade on the outside of the building. And this is simple stuff. You know, we think it's simple, but this costs millions of dollars. You know, when you put a new roof on something that's like a million square feet, you're investing like, you know, several $100,000. And then just, you know, the parking lots of, I mean, we're talking 12 or 15 different places I just witnessed myself. I mean, I can't even tell you how many jobs that's creating for folks.
Right.
I think that when you really think about what's going on, it's not about the social issues, because that's what the Democrats want to make it about. Abortion, you know, dividing everybody into subcultures, you know, and talk about race all the time. People care about their money. They care about prosperity. They care about opportunity. And when you're able to, like Donald Trump has done, be able to give these people the opportunity to live the American dream, and it's your choice. Any of us can do it. And he's given these folks the opportunity to do that. It's amazing and incredible. You see it throughout the country. And I'm just talking about what I witnessed in the southeastern Michigan, Northwest Ohio area. I mean, listen to me. I am telling you, it's amazing the kind of things that are going on up there, and the kind of, you know, economic, what shall I say, the investments that people are making into their country and into their community. Folks aren't going to do that unless they believe in what's going on, and that is Donald Trump. It never happened to the Obama administration. You know, he talked about social, you know, justice and all this other nonsense, and he said, "Oh, we're going to have all these shovel-ready jobs." None of that ever really happened. Everyone knows that's the truth.
Because he basically pocketed the money, or not himself, but he made sure that all of his friends got these jobs with big salaries, and all of that taxpayer money just went right into the pockets of all of his friends.
Absolutely. And he gave it to all these other people, all these folks that he had, all these friends that he had, and, you know, his Soros buddies or whoever it was, to try to, like, you know, recruit people to come out and be against, like, people like Judge Kavanaugh, who's a seriously amazing man who's a righteous person, who's a believer in Christ. He's a Catholic. You know, he loves his country. He loves his family. He loves his Lord. And we're going to demonize somebody like that, that's somebody that takes care of their family and that is a really good person because he had drank some beers when he was in college. I mean, give me a break. I'm a woman. I think that's nonsense. Everybody had a beer in college. I mean, come on.
I'm having one right now, Katja. This is the first time
we've ever done
it.
We never drink on the air, but we're doing this celebration thing in honor of Judge Kavanaugh, Justice Kavanaugh now. So we cracked open a beer for the show.
Sam Adams Patriots Brew.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. Why not?
Yeah, so I think there's a way. Now, there's something else that I keep hearing, and it doesn't make sense to me, but I feel like you may know a little bit more of just raw political stuff, so I want to get your take on this. There's a lot of experts out there that are saying that because of the Kavanaugh thing, people are going to want to come out and vote for a Republican senator, and so we might be able to keep the Senate, but somehow those same voters going out to the same polls on the same ballot are going to somehow not vote for their House of Representatives congressman, and that we're going to lose the House but keep the Senate. To me, that makes no sense. People that are coming out to vote for their senator, the Republican senator, because of their outrage over Kavanaugh, I would imagine, are going to vote red right down. Why would we lose the House but keep the Senate? Does this make any sense to you?
I think that, unfortunately, we're dealing with the same kind of folks that we did during the general election and the primaries, where they were all talking about Donald Trump and that he was never going to win this and he was never going to win that. And, you know, he's never going to be president. You know, we have the Nate Silvermans of the world that are like, oh, my goodness, he is never going to win. Hillary Clinton is going to win 98%. And the New York Times and the rest of all these fools, because they don't have any idea what's going on the ground. And I'm not trying to say that I know everything that's going on the ground, but I will tell you this. I'm very close to the people. And I feel like that was one of the greatest attributes that I had personally, because I got to travel for Donald Trump all over the country. And I really could get a pulse of what was going on, good or bad. And it was absolutely incredible, the amount of people that supported him. Now, they wouldn't come on the radio, or they may not tell a poster that they agreed with Donald Trump or wanted to vote for him because they were feared that they would be called a misogynist, a racist, a xenophobe, or the other 10,000 other apparently psychological, stations somebody may be in because they want to, vote for America and they believe in their country. Apparently that's something that's wrong with you if you love America and, pledge allegiance to the flag. That's
right.
What the way the liberals crazies think. And so there were so many people that didn't really want to express that, but they would tell that to you if you went to their door. And Carrie, as you know, how many doors I knocked on. And I was so privileged that I was able to go to multiple states and talk to so many people in the swing states specifically. And the one thing that was consistent about them was that they just wanted to have their country back. And it wasn't about having, illegal aliens. It really wasn't about that. It was really about having the prosperity that was promised to them.
Right,
that they would
the
have
American
good
dream.
Jobs.
Yeah.
Exactly. That they would be able to have that American dream. They would have good jobs, not only for them, but for their family, for their kids, for their grandchildren, that they've worked so hard for, and they can see that all those things are going away and that the country was turning angry and that there was some kind of boogeyman that was out there and all this negativity. Instead of being proud of who you are as an American, that was something that you should be ashamed of. And I'm telling you, folks don't buy into that. They don't want that. I don't care what the liberal crazies try to tell you. People do not agree with that. And I would say over 70% of this country does not believe in that nonsense.
And I'll give you. Well, let me give you some proof of that. These are numbers that we just talked about. But last week, compared to the same week in August, donations to the GOP are reporting 175% up. The amount
doesn't surprise me any.
The amount raised from last month to this month, 194% up. The average gift given to the GOP is up 111%. Those are big numbers compared to the Democrats trying to raise that. They're trying to raise money by lying to the vote. See, we see these emails that go out, these troller emails, and they're literally feeding their donors lies in the hopes that they would be outraged so much so that they'll donate money. That's a losing strategy to me.
I think so too. They have no plan for America. I think it sounds like Katja's telling us we're going to have a big red wave, which is awesome. I want to pivot real quick. It sounds to me like you may have been tapped to help out with this American Priority Conference. And I was hoping maybe you could tell us a little bit about what your role may be in this. I know I'm going to be involved in it too. I'm going to be helping out. Brian's going to be helping out. And for those of you that don't know, it's AmericanPriority.com. It's also, it could be found on Twitter at PriorityConf, short for conference. So PriorityConf is on Twitter, and it's happening December 6th through 8th. What could you tell us about that?
Well, right before I say anything about that, let me just say this, that the one thing that we have on our side as, Trump supporters, MAGA folks, is that we're for something. There's so much power, folks. And when you're for something than when you're against it.
Agreed, 100%. Yes.
When you're against it, there's a negative aspect of it. When you're for something, you're for freedom, like what we're for. We're for freedom. We want everybody to be included. We're not against, whatever the left has come up with in their mind to try to portray us as being all these terrible things. That's really what they are. They know it. They know it in their heart. They try to tell you that, you're this person, but they're just trying to deflect from what they are. And that's why we continue to win. So I just wanted to make that point. Now,
sure.
In regarding to the American Priority Conference, I'm actually working on trying to be a speaker. It sounds like I'm going to be a speaker of some sort, but I really want to help out. I'm waiting to hear a call back in regards to volunteers. And I really feel like that would be a good place for me to help with the volunteer aspect of it. It's going to be a great conference. We're going to have a lot of, great speakers there. And it's really about the MAGA family coming together and being able to speak our truth, because everybody else apparently wants to speak their truth, but speak our truth, which is we love our country. We want to make America great again. We love Donald Trump, and we want to elect more people that are like-minded so that we can really take a foothold on really changing our country for the better and getting away from this socialist, communist ideology.
It'd be really awesome to have people that weren't sure if they could come to this thing or be a part of it to actually take part in it and be a volunteer. So I guess we'll have to listen to see if you end up being a part of the organizing effort for volunteers, which I think would be an awesome fit for you. But you'll definitely be there regardless, right?
Absolutely. I plan on going, and so I'm really looking forward to it.
DC.
Being around a bunch of, like-minded people and then just really expanding on that. We may not, that's what's so great about the MAGA movement is we don't all agree on everything. And that's okay. That's really okay. Because in that, discussion is allowed because we all are about freedom, right? So we may not all agree on every single solitary thing, but what we do agree on is that we have the freedom to speak our mind and that other people will have the respect to listen to you and not try to shut you down. And that is what's so great about what we are doing and what we've accomplished over the last several years is that we've really opened up so many other folks to be a part of what we're doing and that they're listening to what we're saying and that they are, in a lot of ways, they agree with so much, Candace Owens is a perfect example, or Kanye West. I mean, think about this, folks. These folks are wait a minute. What they're saying is truth. Mm-hmm. And what they're saying is allowing us to speak what our personal truth is. And that we don't have to feel like we are oppressed and that there's some kind of oppressor. I mean, this is just nonsense. I mean, and that's what I love about what we do is that it's really about being for something and not being against it. And there's so much power in your mind, in your soul, when you're interacting with other people, that there's this positive way of going about it. Even when folks are yelling at you and like, we don't agree with you. You guys are all these things. You know, you're standing there and you're saying, yeah, you can say all these things about me, but I know that I'm not that person. I know who I am.
Right.
Do
It's the
you
confidence.
know who you are? Because that's the problem, is they don't even know who they are.
Right.
And that's the sad part of it.
Yeah, it's the confidence of knowing that you're on the right side. It's not like I use the word righteous in a good way, because if you're on the side of moral righteousness and you can have the confidence that you're there, you can listen to people, but at the end of the day, you can't come down off of the moral righteousness side, and it just gives you confidence. And like Kanye West talks about, just loving everybody and loving our differences and having differences of opinions, but not hating on each other. I think that he's on the right track there, which is why that all of a sudden this MAGA movement, the right side, the Republicans for the most part, it's such an attractive movement. The MAGA movement it's because people are like, that's the way I want to live my life. That's the way I want America to be, and that's the way I want the world to be. So I think that's why it's such a winning movement.
Well, and they say you can catch more with honey than you can with vinegar, and that's truly what it is all about. And like you said, Katja, we're a party that doesn't agree on everything, but man, do we not love to have discussions, intellectual discussions on policies and ideologies, just anything in general. We'll just sit there and there's no hate. There's no anger. Ain't nobody mad about nothing. We're just hanging out, just being us, just living life.
And that's exactly right. I mean, what you just said there, Brian, is like both of you and Carrie both. Like that's
okay. You can say.
We are so like I've been so blessed, guys. Listen, Carrie and Brian are just amazing. Like they're my brothers from another mother, and we time because I love them, and I'm so excited and so happy. I just recently saw them again, and we get to hang out and we talk on the phone, and they're just like so amazingly intelligent.
Oh wow!
Oh my goodness! Can I have you put that in writing and sign your name today?
They have such a great insight on what's going on politically, and they're so interesting to talk to, and I just feel so blessed that they're part of my life, and I'm so glad that they're able to share that with all the listeners. I mean, they're just great people. They're good people. They're people that I met during this whole journey with supporting Donald Trump. And these folks, and I've said this a lot, Jack Posobiec, I've said this too. I've talked to Mike Cernovich about this, that we've went through a war. Mm-hmm. And when you go through a war, you make these incredible relationships with people. And I just feel so blessed that I've been able to make this relationship with them. And not only that, is that even though, like, we don't always agree on every single thing, they respect me, and they're like, "Yeah, that's cool. I get where you're coming from. I may not completely agree with that, or vice versa, but it's okay, because having an idea, there's nothing wrong with that. Talking it through and getting it out there and saying, hey, I'm thinking this, or I'm feeling this way, or this is what I'm seeing, and sharing those thoughts and ideas instead of being like a zombie, like we must do this or we must say this and everybody has to be in line and step and say the exact same thing every single day. That's extremely boring and exhausting. And that's not what we're about. We're about having all kinds of people from all different backgrounds, from every single possible race or religion, that come in that has one. I think the one thing that we all do share is that we love America. Right. We love our freedom. We love our, Second Amendment. We love that people are able to say what they want and think the way they want to. We may not agree with it. I don't agree with all those people that are up there on Capitol Hill yelling about Judge Kavanaugh and how terrible he is. Thank God he's now Justice Kavanaugh. But at the time, making up all that stuff. But you know what? In any other country, that kind of stuff would never be allowed.
Oh, you could shut down.
You brought up Mike Cernovich and everything like that, and there's a lot of people that are in new media and stuff like that. For those of you listening right now, I want to point out something that I put Katja and Mike Cernovich and me and just a couple of people, a small handful of people who are not just doing this and just telling you what's up, telling you the news or whatever, but like there's a few of us that are really trying to do a call to action to anybody that'll listen whatsoever. Oh yeah.
Am I involved?
Whenever when anybody out there who's like, you need to go and do this. I mean, big time. There's just this small handful of people that are really calling for action and trying to get people motivated, that whoever's listening to get up off your seat and get out there and do X, Y, and Z. And there's nothing wrong with the other people that are not doing that specific call to action, but there is a difference. There is a difference, and Katja is definitely one of them, which is why you should be definitely following her and listening to anything she's saying. And she will, if she becomes a part of this American Priorities Conference, which it sounds like we're on that path to doing it. It's not 100% finalized yet, but I highly recommended that you become a part of it. And so this is somebody that you want to listen to and maybe even say hi to and get to help out and all that kind of stuff. I think it's great.
And we are truly blessed to have you as a friend as well, Katja. Absolutely.
Well, our family just loves you. You guys are so great, and it's just amazing. And I'm sure other folks that are listening and Trump supporters in general, you meet people along the way, and some people are there for a season. Some people are there for a lifetime. And I am just so blessed that I've met so many amazing people that aren't a seasonal friendship, but they're a lifetime friendship. And you guys are part of that. And you know how much I think about you, Brian and Carrie, and how much I love you guys. And you guys are just so incredible. And I know I'm saying it, but I really mean it, because you guys are really awesome.
We believe you. We believe you.
They're awesome parents. They love their kids. I mean, God Lord, they are such good fathers. I mean, think about this, ladies. They're such good men. I mean, and everybody talks about, oh, men are like this and that. No, we are not a part of that. We have really good men in our movement that love their families, that love their country, and they just really want to do the right thing, and they love their wives. And that's like the majority of people. Like, most men are not douchebags. Now, there may be some douchebags, but I'm telling you.
And it's funny that you say it. I think that Kavanaugh fits into that mold too, which is why it rings so false with everybody.
Yeah, it's a joke. I mean, we're going to go and we're going to look at his yearbook. I mean, bless his heart that he's like, well, I can show you my yearbook. I mean,
the calendar.
That's so sweet. Like, I'm going to show you my yearbook as well, and my calendar. And this is all the things that went on. I mean, how sweet is that? I mean, I don't know if I would want anybody to look at my yearbook.
Did you see?
No, not mine. Mine.
Katja, did you see that letter that the New York Times posted of him talking to his friends about organizing a party?
Yeah, and of course it was some kind of nasty,
No, it actually, Mike Cernovich called it a puff piece.
Yeah, it's just, but they twisted it, like other publications twisted some of the wording to mean some kind of ridiculous meaning. I mean, all of these people, and so do I.
I think they focused on the part where he said that some of us are alcoholics that are prolific pukers, and they focused on that as meaning, first of all, that it was literal. I think that they've puked and they've gotten drunk in the past, but to call yourself a drunk is hyperbole. And almost makes you laugh. A prolific puker, that sounds hilarious, actually.
And that's why I was saying, every single one of these people have been to a college party.
Right.
They know exactly what's going on at the sorority house, or at the fraternity house, or at the tailgate party, or at any of the other thousands of parties that are done on campus. All of us know about it, whether you were part of being on campus, or if you came to a football party or a basketball party or whatever it is. We've all experienced it. If you didn't, I feel sorry for you, because let me tell you what, some of the best parties I've ever been to was a college party. They were great, and you just had such a great time, and you were free, because at the time, in the 90s, you weren't affiliated with all this other kind of social justice nonsense like that is permeated our colleges now. But at the time, you just really just had a good time. There was no rape parties or any rape games or all this other complete nonsense. It's just.
That's crazy.
It's amazing how they've brainwashed people to think that's the kind of stuff that goes on at these parties.
Oh, and that all the victims just walked away and said, well, that happens sometimes.
Yeah, you gotta get it.
Happens.
Yeah.
Or they repeatedly came back again and again knowing that it was a rape party.
Well, Katya, you got to take the bad with the good.
Yeah.
You got to take the
Come on, folks.
Anyway, well, Katya, we're running up at the end of the show, but I really absolutely would. I'm very pleasantly surprised with the call in. That is absolutely awesome. Carrie needs to stay on that more often so that we can get you on more often.
Yeah, absolutely. And
well, y'all are great. I've enjoyed it. And everybody get your butt out there, volunteer. Don't say that you don't know nothing or that you don't have the time, because you do have the time and you know something. I say this on Twitter. You know something and you got the time. You can figure it out. You can give 30 minutes once a week to make phone calls. You can go talk to your neighbors.
Door to door is not that scary.
In your car and take them to vote. You are able to do something, so go and do it. So don't think that you don't know anything and that you don't have time to do anything, because you do.
MAGA 3X. All right.
Awesome.
Good talking to you, Katya Lee.
Have a great night.
All right. Make sure you're following her at Crazy About Trump on Twitter. And she is, she used to have tons and tons and tons of followers, but she had been mass reported or something like that, and then she had her account hacked and whatnot. And so Crazy About Trump is actually her alternative one. The original one is gone now. But yeah, back during the campaign, she had a huge following on Twitter.
We were in D.C. with her back during Cuckfest. And CPAC,
yeah.
We were there with her, and that's when that whole debacle was going down with her account.
Yeah.
She was freaking, for an entire day, she was freaking out.
Yeah, she used to be Katya 301, and now she is Crazy About Trump. So, she didn't lose any sleep over it. Her following is not what's important. It's just her getting the job done and having good friends and all that kind of stuff. That's all that matters to her. So. Right. So anyway.
Okay, real quick, we definitely are up against the back end of this show.
Jam it in there. Let's go. We're going to have lightning round, right? Remember from Red Eye?
I'm looking for my
lightning round.
No, it's supposed to pick up, man.
No, it goes down. It's
yeah.
I don't know. If you guys remember the old Red Eye from back in the day, if you were one of them people that spend the night watching Fox News, at some point in the middle of the night, a show would come on hosted by Greg Gutfeld called Red Eye. It was hilarious. Now he's moved on to other things.
All right, moving right along. He's doing the Fox at 5. So
he's got a new one. He's got his own show now.
Oh, okay. President Trump accomplishes what was once thought impossible. Trade deal set with Mexico and, yes, last minute Canada. Canada gets involved as well. The Canadian-Mexico trade deal strengthens U.S. in confrontation with China. White House economic advisor Hassett said on Fox, "We just sort of won the Super Bowl."
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
This is a huge, huge deal. Dairy farmers, Trump's USMCA trade deal will have a huge impact on dairy farmers. 6 ways the USMCA is much better than NAFTA. 1, the rules of origin, where the product actually originates from, raises the North American content requirement for auto manufacturers from 62 to 75%, which makes it harder for, say, somebody to have 62% of a vehicle done in China, then come to Mexico, complete it, and send it to America. Now it's 75%. So it ups it. It has to be 75% of it has to come from the place of origin. Sunset clause. This is a very important
Before you move on to sunset clause, just to be clear, if you wanted to say made in America, now instead of only 62% of it being made in America, it needs to be 75%.
Yep. And so something called the sunset clause.
I have to wipe the coffee off of the wires.
The sunset clause, which I did not know this, but NAFTA was a forever deal. NAFTA was forever. There was never an end to NAFTA. There is an end to this. This deal, and it's a little nerve-wracking, but it's a 16-year deal that must be reviewed and renewed on a 6-year basis.
Okay.
I know 6 doesn't go into
Well, it sounds like the renewal happens in 16 years, but there's a review
every 6 years. And I know 6 doesn't go into 16, so don't fault me. It should be 18.
So is it 18 or 16 years?
No, it's 16, but 6-year reviews, it's every 6 years. Anyways.
Okay. All right. So there'll be 2 reviews before it has to be renewed.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. The workers' right. This also guarantees Mexican workers the right to form and join unions. I scoped about this.
It's interesting.
Unions in America, we don't need them anymore. We are in a day and age in America and such a successful...
Amazon's not unionized.
Correct. Don't need it in America. We are talking about a third world country, Mexico, where people are just used and abused by the cartel, by the government. And so now they are allowed to, and they are forced. If Mexico signed this agreement, and they are allowing their workers to unionize, join unions, and form unions. Also, wages. It is a requirement. Minimum input for duty-free manufacturing. $16 an hour.
Wow.
You must pay your workers $16 an hour if you want duty-free back and forth trade, which raises the wages in Mexico.
Now, is that going
to be competitive? But it will keep. This is all long term, folks. None of this will happen short term. It's all long term, and the goal of this is to raise up the Mexican citizenry to make them not want to come to America.
Yeah, they'll be
because they're making too much money.
Yeah. If we're trading with Mexico on a product that's being made there, and in order to do that, they have to pay them $16 an hour. They ain't going to need to come to America.
Right. Milk, cheese, and ice cream negotiated. It's a really tricky, weird thing, but it's going to be better, I trust.
Well, yeah, imagine, it sounded to me like if you wanted to produce dairy product to export into Canada, it just wasn't happening because they're
400%,
something 300. It was 300 or 400%. But here's the thing: what do you think that's going to do to your average voter in, let's say, Wisconsin, who might want to decide whether or not they were going to vote for either Donald Trump in 2020 or his opponent?
Well, they're going for Trump now.
They've got to be fired up about that.
This kind of a intellectual property, protection of intellectual property rights. Whoever owns those property rights, apparently they're being stolen and remade like they do in China.
Oh, that's a problem.
This is a good start for the rest of the world. This is a good deal. So that now when Donald Trump makes these deals with the rest of the world, this is a cookie-cut process. This is what we're doing. This is how we're doing. This is what's working.
And just to let you know why that's so important, intellectual property, what China was doing was, Apple, you want to make iPhones in China? Okay, that's cool. But by the way, we will not make your product for pennies on the dollar without you giving us how it all works. And they would be forced to do it in order to make these iPhones cheap, and then they would just steal all of the intellectual property. And the thing is that intellectual property comes from people who take the risk of going for it on an idea because it could make them rich. If they lose out or miss out on it totally because they know that their ideas are going to be stolen, then it's just going to cause people to not even want to do it. So, You're right. It's going to change the entire world.
So this doesn't pertain to this, but this is good, feel-good stuff. The refugee admission is the lowest in the history of the program. Donald Trump cutting back on refugees coming to America. And by the way, huge spike in Christian refugees. Huge, through the roof. Like in a 70, 80, 90 percentile. Huge. And a huge cut in Islamic refugees coming to America under Trump. Kentucky governor and friend of ours that we like, Matt Bevin, bourbon industry thriving like never before in trade war.
Because we're all a bunch of drunks.
A bunch of drunks.
Well, trade war, meaning that, what are they, exporting bourbon?
Oh, sure.
Okay,
sure.
All right.
Breaking this, you didn't hear about this week. Mike Pompeo terminates the Iran treaty after the UN court hands Tehran a victory in sanctions lawsuit against Washington. So the UN said that Iran is allowed to sue America for the sanctions that we put on them.
How about those pallets of cash? Can we get that back?
Yeah, I want to get that back. So Mike Pompeo says, hell no, we won't go. Shuts down the treaty that it was set up in the 50s. Treaty was initially set up in the 50s, and then after the revolution, they kept the treaty in play, but never really. It was just kind of one of those things. But now Pompeo shuts it down.
Good.
Got to play tough ball with Iran, not playing around. Trump's economy roaring right along. The tight labor market drives Amazon to $15 an hour wages.
Right, which, by the way, is still a little less than their competitor FedEx. I think FedEx is starting the same types of jobs for $15.50. I think it's going to be a matter of time before Amazon realizes that in order for them to keep the best workers, they're going to have to pay a little bit more. And can they afford it? Can Amazon afford it? Come on.
Richest man in the world, of course. Private payroll soar by 230,000 in September. Unemployment, the lowest since 1969.
Wow.
3.7%. The American economy, now I just want to preface this, the American economy added only 134,000, which is not a very good number.
Mm-hmm.
However, the revisions of the numbers in the past couple of months that were 200,000, 230,000, 215,000, those months have been revised up.
Sweet.
80,000. They were off the mark by 80,000.
Well, and this is just a huge tragedy for America. Think of all of those government workers who work in unemployment offices. I mean, they may get laid off. This is just a tragedy. You should be very depressed for America because of these things. I mean, we need a robust unemployment office that has things to do.
Right. Trump is cutting government employees like they've never been. Tens of thousands of government, over-bloated government employees that aren't needed. They're being cut. And also these jobs numbers also are affected by the Hurricane Florence, which hit South Carolina and North Carolina, likely took a toll on the jobs. Thursday, the government reported that new unemployment claims, people filing for unemployment for the first time, fell more than expected.
Like I said, bad news.
200,000 fell.
What are these people doing? They go into they clock in at their government job in the unemployment office to service people, and they ain't got nothing to do. It's just terrible.
Yep. So hourly earnings rose 2.8% compared to last year. And again, I said the past months were revised upward, adding 80,000 jobs. August report went from 201,000 to 270,000. Nobody's talking about that. August almost added 300,000 new jobs in 1 month alone. That's big numbers that wasn't happening before. Manufacturers are growing. Manufacturing industry is growing at the fastest pace in 14 years. U.S. middle class income. This is why you can't argue with Trump. Middle class income? Isn't that what the Democrats have been fighting for? Isn't that what the GOP has been fighting for? We got to worry about the middle class. Middle class
That's
income.
what they've been saying for, well, Democrats are always middle class, middle class, middle class. Rich people are the enemy. Poor people, sometimes they talk about it, but for some reason it's always middle class. I think it's just a demographic they're going after in order for votes. But yeah, but you're saying that they're doing good. Income rises for middle class, highest on record.
Highest rise. Middle class is earning, and it's the highest it has ever been since it's ever been recorded. I'm at a loss for words here, folks.
It's amazing.
And so real quick, here's the Donald Trump prophecies. There's a movie. The book is out, and there's a movie that's coming out, and that's coming out to a theater near you and us. It's a documentary on a guy who said that God spoke to him back in 2011. And this is what he said that God had to say to him, and he wrote it down, and it's very interesting. So check this out. This also by Liberty.
I don't know.
Liberty Foundation. All right, check it out.
2006, 1 month from the day Mark Taylor retired from his post as a career firefighter, he was suddenly overcome by a Holy Spirit-guided, supernatural vision of the future. This revelation, as the world would soon discover, was a message to the most powerful nation on earth.
The Spirit of God says, I have chosen this man, Donald Trump, for such a time as this.
It's time to embrace our glorious American destiny. Anything we can dream for our country, we can achieve for our country.
America will once again stand hand in hand with Israel, and the two shall be as one.
I want the Israeli people to know that the United States stands with Israel.
The dollar will be the strongest it has ever been in history of the United States and will once again be the currency by which all others are judged.
The economy is booming under this president.
We're up 254 points, 21,000 on the Dow.
They will say things about this man, the enemy, but it will not affect him.
Well, he's kind of a comic book figure. I mean, he's a show-off.
He's a sideshow who threatens to swallow the Republican Party.
He was attacked by other people who were running with him. His poll numbers would go up, theirs would go down, even to the point where they got kicked out of the race.
He would not be the commander-in-chief we need to keep our country safe.
Donald, adults learn not to interrupt you.
Yeah.
We are suspending our campaign.
I am suspending my campaign.
This next election will be a clean sweep for the man that I have chosen.
Donald Trump will never be elected president of the United States.
It still looks like Hillary's the next president.
On Election Day 2016, the world witnessed the impossible when in the final hour, the map turned red.
Donald J. Trump is the president of the United States.
Donald Trump is going to be our president.
Well, my crystal ball's been shattered into atoms here because I predicted the exact opposite of what happened.
But the election of 2016 was only the beginning. Mark Taylor, author of the Trump prophecies that foretold Donald Trump's unlikely victory and the stock market reaction that would follow, has something new to say about what is coming next. Something that will change the future of America and the world forever.
There's a bigger picture that the church is not seeing right now.
The Trump prophecies, the astonishing true story of the man who saw tomorrow and what he says is coming next.
Awesome.
I'm excited. I'm stoked about it. I think it's going to be awesome. I've seen a couple of interviews with him. He originally wrote this, and he thought that the president that he was writing about, that he was getting this message from God, he believed it was Mitt Romney at first. But you got to understand this. When you hear something from God or when something comes to you, it's always right, but it's never clear.
Not only that, but he might have thought maybe he meant Mitt Romney because I know he didn't mean Trump. That's crazy.
Right, exactly. So then when and he tells his whole story about it. When Mitt Romney failed and lost, he realized, well, this isn't it. But the day that Donald Trump announced, he said he was watching TV when Trump announced he was running for president. And he said that was the moment. He said he felt it instantly, and that was the moment. They went back and looked at the letter that he had written years prior about what God had told him and all this information. It's incredibly awesome just to listen to the interviews and watch them. Go to CBN, Christian Broadcast Network, CBN on YouTube, and just Google Mark Taylor, and it'll come. Oh, something that made me want to put this in the show, which I not that I forgot about, but I don't know, just didn't feel like it. Somebody had mentioned it to me, and I had seen it, and I talked about it. I mentioned it in a scope, and they got back to me, and they said, in your scope, you sounded hesitant, like you didn't believe it. And I want to apologize if I came off that way because I'm a God-fearing man, and I believe that God works in mysterious ways. He has with me and my family. He has with our show, with our relationship, Carrie and I, our families. I mean, it's just a lot of great things that have been happening that I absolutely believe that God is working. And Trump prophecies, sure, I absolutely believe it. I love how it's going hand in hand and it's unrolling. So we can actually see it in real time, go back and look at it. And so that's why I wanted to put that on. I wanted to get that out there and let you guys know this is out there and it's coming to a theater near you. It's already in book form on Amazon if you want to read it. And just go to YouTube and Google it. Trump prophecies.
All right.
Other than that, I think we got about a minute unless there's something else you got. Oh, no, we don't. Yeah, 30 seconds. All right. That's it.
I was going to say, it's 8:03.
Oh, man. Well, we started 4 minutes late. We're 4 minutes late.
I don't know what's going on with your volume. I'm working on it.
Hit the like button, hit the share button, share this with your friends and family. Tell everybody about Smith Radio, Military Veteran Talk Radio. Catch us on our scopes throughout the week, and then come back on Sunday night. Sunday.
Every Sunday, and don't forget to support us on Patreon, patreon.com/Smith Radio, SMYTHRADIO. See ya!
With unfathomable power.
What kind of power?
Unfathomable. It's without fathom.